Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto outsmarts Konoha Council bashing Harem. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Reese Cup 4545 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. The sun was going down and people were out celebrating. Why were they celebrating, you ask? Simple really, it was the 6th anniversary of the QB's defeat. Everyone was having a good time. The adults were drinking and the children were playing and having fun. Well, actually not everyone was having fun. A certain blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy with whisker marks on his cheeks was sneaking his way towards his apartment hoping to avoid the villagers this year. This was Uzumaki Naruto, and although he didn't know it, he was the Jinchuriki to the QB no Kitsune and son of the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. Please let me get home this year, the young boy pleaded. Those thoughts, however, were ruined when he bumped into someone. He looked up to see a drunk man with a half-empty bottle of sake. I'm sorry, mister, I didn't see you. That's all right, he said. Then he looked down and immediately recognized who the kid was and his demeanor changed. Hey! Get away from me, demon! Those 6 words caught the attention of the adults around them, some shinobi while others were civilians. Naruto immediately ran in the opposite direction. Get back here, demon! And you should just die! Were some of the things said as young Naruto ran for his life. He took sharp turns down alleyways, but with the shinobi following him, that idea was pretty useless. He managed to outrun them for about 15 minutes before one of the shinobi threw a kunai at him and hit him in his calf, causing him to fall over. He quickly wrapped himself up into a ball to try to avoid more serious hits. The civilians attacked him with fists and feet as well as kitchen knives and sticks, while the shinobi used kunai, swords, jutsu and other various shinobi weapons. As Naruto was about to black out, he heard someone speak up. What do you think you are doing? Stop this now, said a man with a weasel Ambu mask. Scatter! One of the shinobi yelled. That, and the sound of many people running, were the last sounds Naruto heard before he blacked out. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto slowly opened his eyes to see pipes running along walls and laying in about 2 inches of water. He slowly stood up and took in his surroundings better. So they threw me into a sewer, huh? May as well try to find a way out, he thought as he started to walk forward. After about 10 minutes of walking, he came across a huge cage that was at least 100 meters tall. In the center was a piece of paper with the word seal in kanji. So my container has finally decided to grace me with his presence, roared a voice beyond the bars. Who are you? A nervous Naruto asked. It's polite to introduce yourself first, GKI, the large thing said. Suddenly, with an air of confidence, Naruto looked up and stared right into the creature's eyes and shouted, I am Uzumaki Naruto, and I will be the greatest Hokage. Believe it? Oh, so you're Kushi-chan Sochi. I apologize. Let me turn into a more comfortable appearance. And with that, the giant thing began to shrink. When it stopped shrinking, there was a beautiful woman standing there. She had crimson red eyes, long flowing red hair that reached her lower back and stood at about 5 feet 6 inches. She had on a black kimono with a red obi that accented her curves, showing her well-endowed small medium D-sized chest, and looked to be about 20 years old. Pretty, Naruto said under his breath. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You are so adorable. Her voice was so capturing when she spoke, Naruto lost himself in the sound. After he came out of it, and remembered that she never answered his question. Hey you! You never answered my question. Who are you? And who is this Kushi-chan, too? He said indignantly while pointing at her. First of all, Naruto-kun, it's impolite to point at others. He lowered his finger and muttered sorry, then she continued. Second, I am the great QB no Kitsune. She had a worrisome look on her face as she said this. Naruto, however, had a confused look upon his. QB? But Yondaime killed QB, he said, still confused. Naruto, she said, getting serious, no matter how strong a human is, they cannot kill a biju. They can, however, do the next best thing and seal them away. You just happen to be that child, as the container, were it not a newborn child, would have been instantly killed due to all of the raging yuki that would flood their system. I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun, she explained, her voice getting softer as she went until she was whispering. What? So is this why I'm hated and beaten? She nodded her head, showing that he was right. At this point he was cursing being so smart, even at such a young age. As he looked down, he asked, barely above a whisper. Why? Why did he pick me? Why did you attack? Why? He shouted at the end. I didn't come to attack, Naruto-kun. I came to see something special. Something that happens only once every few hundred years. The birth of someone who is destined for greatness, who will change the world with their strength. Do you understand, Naruto? He shook his head, his face still contorted in anger. She looked him right in the eyes and said, I came here to witness your birth. His face went from anger to shocked. He couldn't believe it. She, the great QB no Kitsune, came to see him be born. But then why did you attack? You were only coming to see me be born. So why? I was attacked about halfway here by a giant snake. Its poison slowed me down and weakened me. The next thing I remember before passing out was seeing strange red eyes, and then waking up here. I'm so sorry. I will do whatever you want if you can ever forgive me, Naruto-kun. By the time she had finished, she was quietly sobbing. She was utterly floored when she felt something wrapping around her, and when she opened her eyes she saw Naruto giving her a hug. You don't need to apologize, Kyubi, it wasn't your fault. You don't have to do anything, he said with his signature foxy grin. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she said as she wiped a tear from her eye and hugged him back. After a few minutes they separated. So who's Kushi-chan? He asked. Oh yes, I completely forgot. Her name was Uzumaki Kushina, your mother. When she said this his eyes widened and he stepped back, just staring at her. When he came out of his stupor he fired questions at her. Really? What was she like? What did she look like? Do you know who my Two-san is? Wow, slow down there. Now in order, yes, she really is your mother. Unfortunately, from what I've seen of your memories, I'd say she is most likely dead. I'm sorry. She was beautiful. She had long crimson red hair, stood at about 5 feet 5 inches, loved ramen, very kind but also ruthless on the battlefield. And yes, I know who your father was, but I don't think I should tell you just yet. I hope you understand, Naruto. If you were to suddenly tell people who he was, you would probably have assassins coming to try and kill you, well, more than usual. But I promise that if you're strong enough I will tell you when you become a genin. Is that all right? She asked, slightly sad because she couldn't tell him. Well, I guess that's okay. But I doubt I'll be strong enough. The teachers always throw me out, and so do the store owners, so I can't learn very well or get equipment, he said dejectedly. Well, I may not be skilled in the ways of nin or genjutsu, but I am skilled in stealth, taijutsu and kenjutsu as well as chakra control, so we can work on that until you do graduate. Alright, I'm gonna be Hokage in no time if I have Kyubi teaching me, Naruto said excitedly. Hold on there, first we need to come up with some kind of training schedule. Well, because of me your chakra control is going to be very difficult to learn, so we should work on that first. So maybe that for 6 months to a year at first, then add in stealth training, and finally taijutsu. And of course we'll have to add physical workouts throughout all of it, she explained. Why you do all that? Naruto asked with tears in his eyes. Of course. You want to be Hokage, don't you? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, then everyone will have to respect me and I can protect my family when I get one, he said with a sad smile. Kyubi noticed it and made a quick decision. You know, Naruto, I've always wanted a child, but since I'm in here that can't happen anymore, and since you've always wanted a family, would you like to be my son? I don't think Kushina would mind. And by the way, Kyubi is only my title, my name is Miho. But there is a couple things we must agree upon before you can accept. First, you must hide your strength until you are a genin. We wouldn't want the villagers spouting something like the demon is getting too strong, we must kill it, and actually, do it. This includes your Gigi. He absolutely cannot know you know about me. Second, pretend to be an idiot so people will underestimate you. And third, which is just more personal, find a nice woman to be your wife. If you can do all of that, then I will train you and be your Okasan. At first Naruto was speechless. He could have a Kasan and strength, but he couldn't tell anyone, not even Gigi. After a few more minutes of thinking about it he came to a conclusion. Alright, I agree to your conditions, Kasan. Arigato. Chapter 2, Exam and a Date. Current Harem, Terumi Mei, Tenten, Temari, Hinata. I may have one more but that depends on the story. Don't forget to review at the end. Teach X. Kill human, kill demon/summon, kill thoughts. The sun was slowly rising and the sounds of animals could be heard throughout the forest. The village of Konoha was just starting to wake up and slowly crawl out of their warm and cozy beds. Well, all except the shinobi, who had guard duty that night, and a certain blonde-haired kid. Naruto was currently finishing up his morning workout with a 20-lap jog around the village and was on his last lap. He had already done his push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups as well as his taijutsu training and flexibility exercises. He was wearing a black shirt and a pair of black pants and black sandals, his normal workout attire. Hey Okasan. Is there anything else you want me to work on? Naruto thought to his mother. No, I think that's good for today. I want you to be well rested for the test later. Remember, if you pass I'll tell you who your father is, she said, adding on the last part to make sure he tried his best to pass. But Kasan, you know I always have Mizuki-sensei for the jutsu portion of the test, and he always chooses the Bushin no Jutsu, and we both know that even with my chakra control, I can't make a Bushin. So how am I gonna pass? He thought to her as he started to make his way back home using the alleyways and shortcuts he's been using to get around the villagers for the last 6 years. Well, I was going to teach it to you as a gift for graduating, but I see your point. Naruto, I'm going to teach you the only jutsu I know. The Kage Bushin no Jutsu. It's quite the useful little jutsu. It allows you to create a corporeal copy of yourself. You can use it for intel gathering and to fight. It transfers its memories to you once it's dispelled. But I must warn you, do not dispel too many at once because, even with me here to help sort out the information, you could really hurt yourself by overloading your brain. That is so cool. Alright Kasen, you're the best. So what are the hand signs? She then sent him the mental image of the cross-shaft seal. He waited for more and after a few seconds he realized that must be all. As soon as he got to his apartment, if you could call the piece of crap he lived in one. He decided to work on the jutsu, so he walked over to the wall and peeled back some of his ramen poster to reveal a seal. This was a chakra containment seal. Normally they are put on shinobi prisoners, but when applied to a surface that has 4 connecting walls, it keeps people from feeling any chakra being used inside. He was about to activate it when he remembered how he came to love seals. Flashback no jutsu. A 9-year-old Naruto was just leaving class, one of the few he was able to stay in, and they had just had a demonstration and lecture on different shinobi tools, from weapons to jutsu to seals. What had really interested him were jutsu and seals. He already knew several jutsu, though nobody but him and his mother knew that, because people would leave them at training grounds and, surprisingly, the trash. But what really interested him were seals. From the lecture he learned that they could do all sorts of things, such as sealing, though he knew that from the seal on his stomach, to making things blow up. Ka-san, do you think it would be a good thing to learn about seals? They seem useful. Yes, sweetie, that sounds like a very good thing to learn. Who knows, one day you may find a way to get me out of here one day, and then I can give you a real hug out there, instead of just in here. That night Naruto waited till the library closed before he donned his stealth clothes, which was also his training clothes, and snuck into the library. He spent about an hour there looking for different books on sealing. He finally came across what he was looking for and quickly snatched up 2 different books. They were Sealing for Beginners by a man named Jiraiya and Intermediate Sealing by his idol, the Yondaime. He quickly made it back to his home before he was caught, and hid the books under a loose floorboard near his bed, and went to sleep. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. After that day Naruto was advancing through the sealing books at, what normal people would call, an alarming pace. He mastered seal after seal, quickly making his way to his current book, Master Sealing, a book that was co-written by the Yondaime and Jiraiya. He was almost finished with it. Of the 478 pages in the book, he only had 174 to go before he finished. He was suddenly pulled from his memories when he remembered what he was doing and quickly activated the seal. He went to the center of the room and placed his hands in the seal. Kagebushin no Jutsu, he said. When he heard a puff of smoke next to him, he saw that there was a half-dead looking him and immediately became depressed. Don't be so down, Naruto-chan, you just did put enough chakra in it. I guess I should have told you before, but this is a B-rank kinjutsu, and its counterpart, Tajikage Bushin no Jutsu, is an A-rank kinjutsu because of the mental strain I mentioned earlier as well as the amount of chakra needed to make it. Alright, let's try it again. Kagebushin no Jutsu, Naruto said, pushing almost 10 times the amount of chakra he used the first time, and was surprised when he heard several poofs, and saw that there were 8 more Narutos in front of him. He was slightly confused, and it seemed Miho was reading his mind, which she was. It's because the first time you did it you had about 3/4 the amount needed to make one, and when you put nearly 10 times that you got 8. She explained to him. Yes, now I can definitely pass, he said. He then looked over at the clock on his wall, and saw it was 7:17 and began to panic slightly because he hadn't showered or eaten yet, and the academy starts at 8. So without a second thought he rushed to the bathroom, stripping his clothes as he went, and quickly jumped in, completely forgetting that his mother could see through his eyes, and she got an eyeful of his package and blushed, while quickly cutting the connection, and trying not to think about how big her son was for his age. She believed that he would be close to 8 inches when fully erect, which for 13 was amazing. The second that thought crossed her mind she blushed even redder. That would have put a certain Hyuga to shame. Naruto quickly showered and was out in less than 10 minutes. He ran to his dresser, while making a Kagebushin to make him breakfast, and put on his dreaded orange jumpsuit. Don't get him wrong, he loved the color orange, but not this much. As he stumbled past his clone that had a roasted piece of rabbit from his last hunting trip, he grabbed it, opened the door, and ran to the academy while his clone locked the door and activated the security seals and dispelled itself. Naruto looked at a clock in one of the shops and saw that it was already 7:52 and he was still at least 15 minutes from the academy. There was only one way he would make it in time. He channeled his chakra to a seal on the back of his left hand, that if he didn't have clothes on you would see it snake around his entire body. This was a resistance seal. It added extra resistance to anything you did, making even a normal walk a workout. It currently said 10, Kai, he whispered, and immediately it dropped to 4. Naruto then took off at what would be mid-high jounin level speeds. He was weaving in and out of people, being careful not to alert them to his presence. Just as the bell rang, Naruto stumbled into his classroom, and, to keep up his idiocy mask, tripped over his own 2 feet, instantly causing the whole class, save Shikamaru, Shino, and Hinata, to stop what they were doing and laugh at him. Oops, he said, grinning like a fox and scratching the back of his head. Well, it's nice to see you could join us, Naruto. Now take a seat, someone behind him said. When he turned around he saw his favorite sensei, Irika. And Mizuki. Yeah right, like I would miss this. I'm gonna be Hokage someday, Databeo, he shouted. Yeah right, loser. Like the dobe could ever be Hokage. A certain platinum blonde said. Yeah, you're just a stupid idiot with no talent to be a shinobi. A pink-haired banshee screeched, somewhat damaging the hearing of those sitting next to her. But Sakura-chan, he said, faking hurt and slumping his head. Alright, that's enough. Naruto, sit down so we can begin, Irika said. Once Naruto had taken a seat next to Shino, Iruka began talking again. Alright, as you all know, today is the Genin exam. It will consist of a written portion, weapons test, and finally a jutsu exam. Some had groaned at the written test but knew they would have to do it if they wanted to be shinobi and kunoichi. Oh, and I almost forgot, this year we're going to have an obstacle course. It won't count as a grade, but we want to see where you are in terms of physical stamina and endurance. When he finished talking, he and Mizuki began handing out the tests. You have 1 hour to finish. Begin, Iruka said as he kept a sharp eye out for cheaters. Ka-san, should I do as good as I can or get mediocre at best? Naruto, you're not always going to be able to rely on me to help you do what you want. He thought about it for a minute, and decided to just ace the whole thing. With that he began writing. Unknown to him, Miho had a smile on her face at his decision. With 5 minutes to spare he finished, and handed in his test to Iruka, who began grading it. The last 5 minutes went by fast as Iruka stood up to announce the top 3 scores like he always does. Alright, the top 3 are: third with a 92% Uchiha Sasuke, second with 97% Haruno Sakura, and first with 100% Uzumaki Naruto. The second Naruto's name was said, 2 things happened. 1, half the class looked at him, and 2, the other half was yelling that he cheated. That not right, he's an idiot, he had to have cheated. Sakura and Ino yelled at the same time. Yeah, he's just a no-clan loser. A kid with red triangles on his cheeks yelled. Shut up, Naruto did not cheat at all, so just accept it. Iruka said, brushing off the fact that Naruto got such a good score, thinking he had been studying for weeks to get them right. Alright, everyone outside for the weapons portion. The students filed out of the room, some sending questioning looks to Naruto, others completely ignoring him. Okay everyone, you will get 10 shuriken and kunai. Each one can get a possible 50 points with a combined total of 100. First up, and names began to be called. The clan children mostly got a combined score of 60 to 80, while the civilian children were lucky to get more than 50, except the pink banshee who didn't get more than 30. Then came the current rookie of the year, Uchiha Sasuke, that last loyal Uchiha in Konoha. He went up to the line and began with the shuriken and then the kunai. He got a combined score of 93. His fan club, especially his biggest supporters, Sakura and Ino, began screaming things such as, "Yes, Sasuke-kun, you're the best," and "Sasuke-kun is so hot," and some more disturbing things the author refuses to write. Sasuke just walked off with a smirk on his face. And last up, Naruto. Iruka said as he records Sasuke's score. Hi, Iruka-sensei. Naruto shouted and walked up to the line, grabbing his shuriken. He then threw them one at a time in quick succession. Everyone was stunned. Naruto had just gotten a perfect score. He then picked up his kunai before anyone could complain and threw them as well. Again getting a perfect score. Naruto perfect score. Iruka said in disbelief, not because he thought that Naruto was bad but because he had never seen Naruto score more than 65. He cheated, Iruka-sensei. Make him do it again. Sakura screeched, while all of the SFC, Sasuke fan club, nodded their head in agreement, while both Sasuke and Mizuki were fuming in anger. Sasuke for being shown up by clanless Dobe, while he was an Uchiha, the best, and Mizuki because his plan to have the demon brat steal the forbidden scroll so he could kill him and take it to Orochimaru-sama were being destroyed. Moving on to the jutsu portion, Iruka said, ignoring them. Follow me to the obstacle course where we'll have the jutsu portion and then finish up with the course. That being said, he started walking around to the other side of the building. When they got there, the students were cheeking out the obstacle course. There was about a 30-meter wall climb that led into a small lake, about 20 meters long with rocks to jump from. Then following that there was a tall structure that had sandbags attached to ropes that were tied to the top of it that were swinging back and forth that was almost 75 meters long. And to finish off with another climbing wall. The only thing different about this one was there was no rope, which confused a lot of the students while some had already come up with a way to get over it. Alright everyone, time for the jutsu portion. To start, I want all of you to form a straight line shoulder to shoulder with about a foot in between each of you. Iruka said. He waited a couple of minutes for them to get in place, and then began telling them what to do. Alright, I want you all to henge into either me or Mizuki-sensei. A majority of the students henged into Iruka, while a few turned into Mizuki. He then started to go down the line muttering things like scar is too small/big, skin tone too light/dark, hair too short/long, as well as others. The only ones that got a perfect were Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto, Shino, and surprisingly Kiba, as that was his worst jutsu. Alright, good job everyone, now on to the Kawarimi no jutsu. I will throw a blunted kunai at you and you will use Kawarimi to escape. Everyone was able to dodge by switching with a log or, in Naruto's case, Mizuki, who screamed because Iruka had aimed at Naruto's chest, which just so happened to be where Mizuki's balls were. He fell onto the ground holding his little buddies while in the fetal position sobbing. The rest of the guys, save Sasuke, immediately covered their own out of reflex. Sorry about that, Mizuki. Do you need to go to the nurse? Iruka asked. Mizuki just grunted and shook his head. Alright, why don't you take a breather then? Mizuki nodded and Iruka helped him stand and walked him over to the side where he took a seat while still holding his little buddy. Okay, everyone one at a time step forward and perform the Bushin no Jutsu. You have to make a minimum of 3 to pass. One by one the students stepped forward and did as they were instructed. The most that was made was 6, and that was Sasuke. Alright Naruto, your turn. Hi. Kagebushin no Jutsu. And out of the poofs of smoke came 12 Narutos. Iruka suddenly had a stern look on his face that wasn't missed by anyone but Sakura and Ino, who were too busy admiring the Uchiha. Naruto, where did you learn that jutsu? Iruka demanded. Some of the students were getting smile on their faces, thinking he was gonna got in trouble. Of course Naruto had planned for this, and without missing a beat began explaining where he learned it. Well, you see, I was training last year at one of the training grounds when some of the NBU said I had to leave so that they could train. Well, I doubled back and watched them when one of them used it. At first I thought it was just a regular bushin until it started fighting. I've been trying to do it ever since and finally got it down last night. Why, is there something wrong, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked, finding confusion. Naruto, that is a B-rank kinjutsu. Do you know what that means? Naruto of course shook his head, and Iruka continued. That means that it's a jutsu that you must get the Hokage's permission to learn. The students gasped at hearing this. How is the dobe so strong? Only I, an Uchiha elite, am qualified to have such power. He will give it to me so I can kill him. Sasuke thought. Oh, I'm sorry, Iruka-sensei. I guess this means I failed the test, right? Naruto was of course faking it, but no one could tell the difference. Sigh, no Naruto, you still pass, but you have to tell Hokage-sama and promise you won't teach anyone else. Understood? You got it, sensei. I'll tell Gigi later. Most of the student gasped when they heard Naruto refer to the Hokage in such a way. Naruto, how many times do I have to tell you to not call Hokage-sama old man? Iruka asked, exasperated. Knowing he wasn't going to get an answer, he moved on. Alright, everyone line up alphabetical order by last name at the starting line. The students did, and soon the first student went, completing the course in just under 6 minutes. Most of the students that went after got between 4 and 7 minutes. The slowest was nearly 12 minutes, which was Sakura, and she was wheezing very bad by the time she finished. The fastest two were Kiba, with 3 minutes flat, and Naruto with 2:17. Nobody argued this one, as they all knew that Naruto was fast, though they were still fuming that the so-called dobe was doing better than all of them. Naruto just stood there scratching the back of his head with a fox-like grin on his face. Congrats everyone. Follow me back inside so I can give you your Hitite, and you can start your shinobi carriers. After they had gotten back inside and Iruka had given them their Hitite, he had one last thing to say. Before you go, everyone be here tomorrow by 10 a.m. to be placed on your team. Bye. He said and blinked. When he opened his eyes, all of his students were gone. He just sighed and went to begin making his lesson plan for next year. Naruto was roof-hopping to the Hokage's office with excitement about telling him he had passed. As he neared, he felt a couple of chakra signatures and decided to just wait outside the window, and he kite the tail end of the conversation. And those will be the teams this year. Are there any questions? The elderly Hokage asked. One person with spiky hair, a beard and a cigarette in his mouth raised his hand. This was Sarutobi Asuma, the Sandame's son. Yes, Asuma? Who's that outside? He asked as he took a drag from the little death stick. Oh, come on in, Naruto, we're done here. Naruto sheepishly opened the window and hopped in, surprising some of the jounin because there were no ledges outside the window. Does he already know surface clinging? Were the thoughts of most of them. Others were thinking that the demon was getting too strong. Dang, I thought I had masked myself better. Gotta work on that. He muttered the last part to himself. But it was very good, Naruto-kun. Perhaps your Jounin-sensei will help you improve it, Hiruzen said with a light smile. By now the whole room was empty, leaving Naruto with the Hokage. So Naruto-kun, what brings you here? Oh right, I wanted to tell you a couple of things, Naruto said with a seriousness Sarutobi had never seen in him. Are you going to tell me you're the one taking the sealing books from the library the last couple of years? He asked with slight humor in his voice. What? You knew about that? Well, not exactly, but I did have my suspicions. I can only guess that you wanted to learn sealing. So how much further until you're done with your current book? I've got 174 pages left. That should only take me about 4 to 6 months depending on how many missions I get. But that's not the only reason I'm here. Apparently, and I'm sure you know this already, the Kagebushin no Jutsu that I learned needs to be approved by you to be learned. Well, I guess since you already know it, I give you permission to use it, but you cannot teach anyone else, and if you plan on doing so, ask me first. Is there anything else? He asked, suddenly getting a sense of dread. I know who my mother is, Naruto said after taking a deep breath. Sarutobi for his part was shocked beyond all belief. He was sure that the only ones who knew of his heritage were him, Jiraiya, and Tsunade, and possibly Nara Shikaku. There were several minutes of silence between the two. Then the Hokage got a serious look on his face. How do you know? And do you know who your father is? He asked in an almost whisper-like tone. I got curious last year, and let's just say hospital security sucks. As for my father, I have my suspicions, but I'm not 100% sure, Naruto replied. But I just have to ask, do you know if my parents are alive? Sigh, Naruto, I know for a fact that your father is dead. As for your mother, we don't know. Officially she is dead, but we never found any evidence of a body after the Kyuubi attack. But I do have our spy master keeping an eye out for her just in case. I must admit you act just like your mother, always hyperactive and loud when you aren't fighting and deadly serious when you are, at least from what I've seen you do in training," he said with a slight chuckle. "Can you tell me who my father is?" "I'm afraid not, Naruto-kun," he said. When he saw Naruto's face drop, he made a quick decision. "However, the Chunin exams will be in about 7 months. If you can become a Chunin, then I will tell you." "Deal? You got it, GG. Later I'm gotta go get some ramen and new clothes," Naruto said as he leapt out the window. The Hokage just shook his head and got back to trying to defeat his greatest enemy, the almighty, super powerful paperwork. He sighed and got to work wondering how Minato had time to do this, and still have all that spare time to spend with Kushina. Naruto was walking down the shinobi district looking for a shop while pondering where his mother could be, should she be alive. And if she is, why she would leave him here. While he was lost in thought, he walked right into someone, and while he was like a rock and didn't budge, the other person fell on their butt. When the person hit the ground, Naruto was shaken from his thoughts, and looked down to see a girl about a year older than him. She had brown hair with 2 buns, a pink Chinese-style shirt, green pants and blue sandals, as well as a Konoha Hittite on her forehead. "Hey, watch where you're going," she said to him. "Gomen." "I was thinking about something and wasn't paying attention," Naruto said, holding his hand out to help her up. "Yeah. That's fine. I'm Tenten, Uzumaki Naruto. Hey, I just graduated. You know any good shinobi clothes shops?" "Yeah, I work part-time at an all-purpose shinobi store." "Follow me," she said and started walking off, with Naruto following shortly. "So how long have you been a kunoichi?" Naruto asked. Almost a year. I'm still a genin. Though I hope to be in the upcoming Chunin exams." As she said this, she kept stealing glances at him with a questioning look on her face. Naruto noticed. "Is there something wrong?" he asked, looking at himself. "Well, I'm just wondering what kind of shinobi wears bright neon orange. I mean, it just doesn't seem practical," she said as they took a left. "Ah, well, the civilians don't really like me because of all the pranks I've pulled on them," he said sheepishly. "Wait, that was you?" Naruto nodded. "What about the Hyuga underwear incident 4 years ago?" Naruto nodded. "Wow, you must have some good stealth skills to be able to sneak past at least 50 Hyugas," she said. At this, Naruto had the decency to blush. "Thanks," he said as they walked into a store. Naruto took a quick glance at the sign. It said it was called Dragon Weapons Shop. "Hey, Shinji, I got a customer here. Go ahead and choose something. I'll be right back to help you in a minute," she said as she went to the back. Naruto started looking around at the different clothes they had. He already knew what he wanted, so it didn't take too long. Just as he was walking up to the counter, Tenten came out. "Wow, already got what you want? What about weapons?" she asked. "Well, I already knew what I wanted as far as clothes. As for weapons, I got a few places stocked with them, so I'll be good for a few missions at least, but when I'm out I'll come back here. By the way, do have a changing room? I'd like to see how these fit." "Yeah, go through the door here and it's the second door on the right," she said, pointing to the door she just came through. He thanked her and went to change. He came back a few minutes later to find Tenten flipping through a rare weapons magazine. "So how do I look?" he asked. She marked her place and turned around and was a little shocked at what she saw. Naruto was standing there with a tight crimson red sleeveless shirt that showed his chiseled abs and chest as well as his muscled arms. He also wore black shinobi pants with plenty of pants that was held up by a utility belt that had several holders for scrolls, and to finish it up a pair of black combat boots. Naruto noticed her staring at him, and took it as a good thing. He then noticed the blush on her face and decided to play with her. "I didn't know I was eye candy. I may have to start charging people." Tenten shook her head and got a hold of herself. "Sorry about that. You do look good," she said, her blush deepening. "How much is all this anyway?" That's 457 real. Wow, that is a good price. You're not lowering it for me because you like looking at me?" On the inside, Naruto was laughing at her blushing and stuttering out excuses. "I'm just kidding, Tenten. I couldn't help it. That's okay. My boss says I need to lighten up a little anyways. Hey, I'm going out for ramen later to celebrate. Do you want to come with me?" "My treat. I don't know. I mean, I just met you," and she never finished as her boss started screaming from the back. "Damn it, Tenten, just go with the boy. Maybe he can loosen you up a little, in more than one way," he said as he gave off a perverted giggle. Naruto and Tenten were both blushing at the implications. After a few minutes, Tenten finally got the nerve to speak again. "Sure, that sounds nice, but I might be late. I'm trying to find a new place to live. Mine is being torn down in a month because of a new owner. The bastard." She whispered the last part, but because of Naruto's sensitive hearing he heard her. "Ah, well, you can always move to my apartment building. I've got lots of openings. And it's pretty cheap." "Wow, really? I thought it would take forever to find some place to stay." "Thanks. So yeah, I'll meet you. Where are we going again?" "Ichiraku's Ramen. I'll meet you there at 6. "That sound good?" "Yeah, that's fine. I should be done by then." "Later," he said as he walked out of the store. He walked back towards his home to change into his training clothes and then went to an alley behind his home and lifted up a sewer grate and jumped in. He made a right and continued walking. He came to a part of the sewer where if one would look close enough they would see thin lines in a rectangular shape. He coated his hand with chakra and used the surface clinging principle to pull in out, and pulled out the only thing that was in there with his other hand and then replaced the wall piece. On the outside when you looked at it was just a knife with a katana handle. But if one were to actually draw the blade it really was a katana. The blade itself was black with a black tsuba that had what looked like stars on it. The handle was black and crimson. He had skipped a whole week of school during his 3rd year to go to a town just a few miles from Konoha, and had the local blacksmith make it for him. Naruto had even done a few extra things when the blacksmith wasn't looking. He had added his secondary chakra element, Raitan, to the blade and a little bit of Yuki from Miho as a defense mechanism. This was his pride and joy. He had named it the Kowa Ryujin, which roughly translated to Black Dragon God. He quickly ran through the sewers and came out near training growing 17. It was mostly an open field that he used for his kijutsu training. He already knew the forms for his style. It was one that Miho had said died out hundreds of years ago. It was called Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu. He had mastered the first 9, he just needed to work on the last 4. Today he was gonna try to finish the Uki Amakakura Ryu no Hiramiki. He had it about halfway but was still struggling with doing it fast enough, and he was always a half a step to the left, and would have a small but in his leg, that Miho always healed for him. Several hours later Naruto had almost had it. He had gotten his footing right but was just a half second slower than he wanted when he noticed the sun was going down, which meant it was around 6, and he had to meet Tenten at Ikaraku's. He immediately sheathed his sword in his specially made sheath that had expansion seals on the inside so the sword would fit. He made it there right as Tenten did. They stood there for a second while Naruto caught his breath. Sorry about that, I was training and lost track of time. That's okay, I do that all the time, especially with my sensei, she said as they entered the stand. Hey Naruto, who's this? I am, the store owner's daughter asked. Hey, I am Nei-chan, this is Tenten. I met her earlier today. Wow. You know her for less than a day and are already taking her on a date. That's pretty bold. Can I expect little Naruto's running around in the next few years? She was having a lot of fun teasing Naruto like this. What? It's not like that, I swear. This is more or less me wanting to learn more about my comrades, that's all. Naruto stuttered while blushing a hue lighter than Tenten. Oh, I know that, but if I know you, and I do, you do think she's cute, she said. He just blushed harder. So what can I get you? I'll have 1 miso with pork and a beef, with extra beef, Naruto ordered. I'll have the S shrimp with an egg on the S side. Tenten stuttered, still embarrassed. Alright, those will be ready in a few minutes, she said, going to the back. Just as she was about to tell her dad what to make, she turns around and looks directly at Tenten. By the he didn't deny that he thought you were cute, she said, and disappeared. Things were a bit awkward between them for a few minutes before Tenten found her voice. So you think I'm cute? She asked tentatively, not looking at him. Why, yeah. I do. Plus, earlier when I helped you up I felt your hand and it was all rough and calloused. That tells me that you take your training seriously, unlike most of the girls in my class. And if I am gonna have a girlfriend, she has to be strong. And I think that if your hands are that rough you must train a lot, which means you have skill. I guess what I'm saying is I want a strong woman in my life. You just seem to fit the bill. Being cute is just a bonus. By the time he was done, Tenten was staring at him in awe. She couldn't believe he was able to tell all that from just touching her hand and a few minutes of conversation. Well, thanks. That's the first time someone's called me cute before. They always said I was too much like a guy because I was always training. Here you go, 1 miso with pork, 1 beef, and 1 shrimp. And good job, Naruto. I see you graduated. These are all on the house, Ikaraku said as he delivered the ramen. Thanks, Tsuchiya-san. And began to dig in while Tenten did the same. They sat there and ate while talking about different things. They talked about their specialties, things they did at the academy, Naruto's pranks, Tenten's team, and Tenten told Naruto the types of missions to expect as a fresh genin. By the time they were done they had been there for almost an hour and a half, and Naruto had eaten 5 bowls of ramen compared to Tenten's 2. Come on, Tenten. I'll walk you home, Naruto said. Thanks, but I actually live just down the street, she replied. Bye, Naruto. Maybe we could do this again sometime? You know, as an afakale date? She asked, looking down. Hey, yeah, sure. Hopefully I'll have more money and we can go somewhere better. No offense, Asen. I'd like that. Good night, Naruto, she said and turned to leave. Bye, Tenten. He waved goodbye to her. He got back home and placed his sword under the floorboard and went to take a shower. In the middle of his shower he heard someone knocking on his front door. He got out of the shower and wrapped a towel around his waist. As he got closer to the door the knocking became louder and more frequent, and Naruto was getting kind of mad. Alright, geez, I didn't do much. All I did was put sneezing powder on the clothes, he yelled through the door. When he opened it, however, he found a crying Tenten with torn clothes and an apron that was worn in a kitchen. Tenten, what's wrong? He asked as he pulled her into his home and shut the door. She didn't finish, but Naruto could guess what happened. She had almost been wrapped. She just stood there as Naruto held her, and she cried into his chest. They were like that for 10 minutes before Tenten had calmed down a bit. Tenten, I know you're hurt right now, but you kinda interrupted my shower and I would like to put some pants on. She quickly let go and realized he was telling the truth as he only had a towel on. Naruto went over to his dresser and grabbed his PJ pants from his dresser and a pair of boxers and went back to the bathroom to change. While he was doing that, Tenten had dried her eyes enough to see and looked around his apartment. It wasn't the newest she'd seen, but it was livable. He had a bed in the corner, and a small kitchen along the wall to the right with a table and 2 chairs. He came out wearing a pair of light blue PJ pants with toad designs on them. Tenten giggled slightly at this. Hey, they aren't that bad, he said, going back over to his dresser and pulled out an old pair of PJ pants and a black t-shirt with the Uzumaki swirl on the back and tossed them to her. Figured you'd want to change out of those, he said. She went to the bathroom and changed. The shirt was a little small because of her breasts, but it worked. She came out to see Naruto make a makeshift bed out of blankets on the floor. You can have the bed. Just try not to step on me in the morning, he said as he watched her nod her head slowly and make her way over to the bed but stopped. Naruto, see can you, she said, fiddling with the shirt and nervously glancing at him and the bed. Hey Kasen, do you know what she means? Naruto, I swear you can be so smart one second and a complete moron the next. She was almost rapt. She probably wants to feel safe, and it seems she wants you to keep her company while she sleeps. Oh, sure. He pulled back th covers and slipped in while Tenten got in on the other side and slowly made her way closer to him. Naruto was listening to the advice his mother was currently giving him on what to do and slowly put his arm over her protectively. Good night, Tenchan. Night, Naruto-kun. And with that they both fell asleep. Chapter 3, Teams. Kill human, kill demon/summon, kill thoughts. The next day Naruto woke up and felt his arms wrapped around something, and when he looked at what he was holding he saw brown hair and a developing chest. He immediately started to panic, that is until he remembered what happened last night and calmed down. He looked over at his wall and saw it was almost 8:30. He was about to wake Tenten up when his mind was assaulted by a bunch of memories. He had learned Shunshin no Jutsu, Futon, Kaze no Yaiba, and Katan, Karyu Enden. Then he was puzzled, he hadn't made any Kagebushin last night to go train. I did that for you, sweetie, I hope you don't mind. I thought they would be useful, especially the Shunshin no Jutsu. Miho said to him. He just said it was okay, but to ask him next time. He shook Tenten awake. It took a few minutes, and he guessed it was because she was tired. Come on, Tenchan. You gotta get up. 5 more minutes. She mumbled and then scooted closer to him. It took about 3 seconds after that she realized she wasn't alone. She pushed away and jumped onto the floor and pulled a kunai out of nowhere and looked at who was there. The second she saw the blonde hair she remembered that she spent the night at Naruto's, and then blushed when she realized they had slept together. Gomen, that's alright. I've got a while before I gotta go to the academy. Do you wanna go get breakfast, after I take you home to get some of your clothes, that is? Naruto suggested. Yeah, that sounds nice. Man, am I glad my sensei gave us today off. Just let me go to the bathroom first, she said, looking at herself as she was still wearing Naruto's clothes from last night. While she was in the bathroom, Naruto changed out of his PJs and into his new clothes. He had just put on his kunai holster when she opened the door and walked out of the bathroom. Alright, Tenchan, where do you live? I'll just Shunshin us there, Naruto said as she grabbed her clothes. You know the Shunshin? But isn't that a B-rank jutsu? At his nod she just shook her head and muttered something about unpredictable blondes before she continued. Apartment 19 at the Dragon Leaf apartment complex, 2nd floor. She said. He asked if she forgot anything when she told him no. He told her to hold on tight, and they disappeared in a swirl of leaves. They reappeared in Tenten's apartment, and the first thing Naruto saw was the wall decorated with weapons. She had a living room with a couch, a chair, hardwood floors, and a couple of lamps and a rug in the middle of the floor. She had a table with 4 chairs, and a kitchen that was just a bit bigger than his own. Against one wall were 3 doors. He guessed one was Tenten's, one was a guest room, and the other was a bathroom. Alright, hurry up, we only have about an hour before I have to be at the academy, Naruto said, not wanting to be late for team placements. Yeah, sure. I'll change really fast, but the only restaurant around here is Ichiraka's and I don't want ramen for breakfast, no matter how good theirs is. So how about I make some eggs and toast instead, since you paid for dinner last night? She said with a smile as she walked toward her room. I haven't had a home-cooked breakfast in a long time. That sounds good. Alright, I'll be out in a minute, she said as she closed the door. Naruto then went over and sat on the couch when he remembered that during all the commotion last night Miho had forgotten to tell him who his father is. Ka-san, you forgot to tell me who my two-san is. Naruto thought to her, sending her a mental image of him pouting. I guess so. Your father was a great man, Naruto, and I want you to understand that. He wanted what was best for you, and his family, but he also had a duty to the village. Naruto was really confused at that, and was about to ask what she meant when she started talking again. Naruto, your father was Namikaze Minato, the Kiroi Senko, and Yandame Hokage. Naruto's mind officially shut down at that. His greatest hero was his father. He was the son of the only shinobi to get a flea on sight order in the bingo book. Then he thought about the fact that he was the one who sealed Miho into him, which he was completely fine with, but also wondered why he would choose his own son, and when he voiced this to Miho she replied, Naruto-kun, your father was a noble man, one of the noblest I had ever met. Do you think he would ask someone else to give up their child when he had one of his own? The way his Ka-san had put it made him feel better. He started to silently cry. He was so absorbed in his conversation with his mother he failed to realize Tenten come out of her room in her normal clothes. Hey Naruto, how do you? And then she saw his tears. Hey, are you okay Naruto? She asked, concerned that there was something really wrong with him as she sat next to him on the couch. Yeah, I'm totally fine Tenchan, he said as he wiped his tears and smiled at her. She didn't believe him for 1 second but decided to let it go and that he would tell her when he wanted. Okay. So how do you like your eggs? Sunny side up or scrambled? She asked as she made her way to the kitchen. Scrambled sounds good, he said. Tenten had cooked the eggs and made the toast in less than 20 minutes. When they sat down to eat, Tenten waited on edge for Naruto to say something about her food. When he took his first bite his eyes shot open and they shined as bright as the sun. He then shoveled the rest of the eggs into his mouth, completely forgetting that Tenten was there. When Naruto started doing that, Tenten took that as these eggs are really good from him and started eating herself. About 10 minutes later they had both finished and cleaned their plates and set them aside to dry. That was absolutely delicious Tenchan. But I gotta go. Later, he said, as he kissed her on the cheek and shunned Hein to the academy. Tenten just blushed and went to go do some of her own training. When he arrived right outside the classroom he could already hear everyone inside, or at least the fangirls, screaming about how Sasuke would marry them or something along those lines. He opened the door and walked in. Nobody really noticed him. He looked around for an empty seat. The first one he saw was by Sasuke and he quickly shot that down. Then he eyed a seat next to Shino and went to sit there. When he sat down he gave a quick nod to Shino who returned the gesture. That's when he heard it. The loud stomping of two of Sasuke's biggest fangirls, Sakura and Ino, slamming the door open. Ha, I beat you pig, now I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun. The pink ban I mean Sakura screamed at Ino. Yeah right forehead. I beat you by half a step. Ino yelled at her. This continued for several minutes before Naruto's and Kita's ears couldn't take it anymore. Will you two shut the hell up? They screamed at the same time. Why should I listen to you baka? Sakura asked/screamed. For one thing I'm sure IWA could hear you too, and second Kiba and I have very sensitive hearing. Plus if you're supposed to be a kunoichi, why don't you practice being quiet, like any good shinobi should? Naruto ranted to her. The whole class erupted in laughter at Naruto's jab at their shinobi skills. Sakura was about to respond when she noticed Naruto's clothes. Hey baka, what's with the clothes? You'll never be as cool as Sasuke-kun, so go put on your jumpsuit. Before Naruto could respond the king of Amos had to butt it. Hey do. Teach me the Kagebushin, he demanded. Naruto just raised his eyebrow in a way that said, are you really asking me that? No, I am an Uchiha, and I demand that you teach me how to do it right now. Yeah, tell Sasuke-kun how to do it do. You should feel proud to teach him something. Ino yelled at him. It's not that I can't teach it to him, which I won't. I've been forbidden to teach anyone by Hokage-sama. Pfft, it's a useless jutsu for losers anyway, Sasuke said and sat back down. Just as Iruka came in. Alright class, settle down. There was no response. Class. Again no response. Sit down and shut up, he yelled, using the big head no jutsu. Everyone that wasn't in a seat scrambled to the nearest open one, Sakura sitting next to her Sasuke-kun, and quieted down. That's when one of the students noticed Mizuki wasn't there. Hey Iruka-sensei, where's Mizuki-sensei? He was caught trying to steal from Hokage-sama last night, and was sent to prison. But enough on that, let me tell you your teams and then you have an hour before they get here. Team 1 Team 7 Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura. After her squeal of how true love conquers all from Sakura, Iruka continued, and Uzumaki Naruto. 2 thumps were heard as Naruto and Sakura slammed their heads on the table. Your sensei is Hatake Kakashi, A/N in the first chapter that was supposed to be a dog mask. Team 8 Abirame Shino, Hyuga Hinata, and Inuzuka Kiba. Your sensei is Yuhi Kurinai. Team 9 is still in circulation, so Team 10 Yamanaka Ino, Akamichi Chuji, and Naro Shikamaru. With that, Iruka left the room to finish next year's curriculum. 3 hours later, if you looked in that same classroom you would see Naruto trying to meditate, in which he was talking to Miho. Sakura was trying, and failing miserably, to get Sasuke on a date, and the emo himself was glaring at a tree outside the window. A few minutes later they all turned to the door as a man with gravity-defying silver hair and a mask covering the bottom half of his face opened the door. My first impression of you, I hate you. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. After that he disappeared in a puff of smoke, shortly followed by Naruto. When Sasuke saw this he fumed in anger. On the roof with Kakashi and Naruto. Naruto had just poofed onto the roof, surprising Kakashi with something Chunins learn. Hey Kakashi-sensei. Or should I say Inu-san? How'd you know that? Well, your hair is a dead giveaway. Naruto deadpanned. Kakashi just shrugged and scratched the back of his head. By the way, I wanted to say thank you for protecting me all the time when I was little, but I have to ask. Do you hate me for the Kyuubi? No. As a shinobi, I know there will always be tragic events in my life, but you can't always go on hating who caused them, or else the world will be filled with more hatred than needed," he said as he lazily examined his student. "He's hiding his chakra levels well, better than yesterday. And he seems to have gotten serious about his life as a shinobi." That was almost word for word from what Yandame-sama said when IWA surrendered during the Third Great Shinobi War. Naruto said. Before they could go any further, Sasuke and Sakura arrived. "Alright, how about we introduce ourselves? Likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams for the future." Sensei, what do you mean?" the pink-haired one asked. "Isn't she supposed to be the smartest in the graduating class?" Naruto and Kakashi thought. "I'll go first to give an example. My name is Hatake Kakashi. Things I like and things I hate, I don't feel like telling you that. My dreams for the future, never really thought about it. As for my hobbies, I have lots of hobbies." They all thought the same thing. All we learned was his name. "Alright, you next, Pinky." He pointed to Sakura. "My name is Haruno Sakura, not Pinky," she screeched. "I like," looks at Sasuke and blushes. "My hobbies are," looks at Sasuke and blushes again while giggling. "And my dream for the future is," looks at Sasuke, blushes and squeals. "And I hate Naruto and Ino Pig, great a fangirl," Kakashi thought as he mentally sighed. "Next, you emo king." He pointed to Sasuke. "My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I don't like anything and I hate everything. I don't have any hobbies and I don't have a dream but an ambition, to restore my clan and kill a certain someone. Sasuke-kun is so hot." Sakura thought as she squealed again. "Great. An Avenger. What a drama queen," Naruto thought as he rolled his eyes. "And you, Naruto?" Sakura was furious that he didn't get a stupid nickname, but she wasn't going to question her sensei. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like training, eating ramen, tenchan, jiji, konoha, ninjutsu and kenjutsu. I hate loud things, people who can't tell a sword from a sheath, and perverts. My hobbies are training and eating ramen. My dream is to become Hokage," Naruto said with a fox-like grin on his face. "So I've got a fangirl, an Avenger, and a somewhat normal kid with big dreams. Yippee. Alright, now that's over, it's time to tell you that tomorrow we will be having a test to see if you are ready to become genin." "What? What do you mean to see if we become genin? We already passed the academy test," a person screeched. "Well, this test is given by the senseis to see if you truly deserve to be genins. This test has a failure rate of 66.6%. That means that, of the 27 graduates, only 9 of you will be accepted as true genins of Konoha. Meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 5 sharp. Oh, and don't eat breakfast. You'll just throw it up. Ja." He waved and poofed away. "Later," Naruto said and poofed away to his training ground. For the rest of the day, Naruto practiced his taijutsu and did a little physical training by raising his resistance seal to level 11. When he got home, he set his alarm for 6, guessing that Kakashi would be late again, and went to bed. The next morning, Naruto woke up to his alarm blaring. He turned it off and headed for the shower. After he was done, he had a small breakfast of toast and milk courtesy of a Kagebushin he sent to acquire it while he was in the shower. When he finished, he pulled on his clothes and grabbed his weapons and left to go on a light jog around the village. When he was on his 7th lap, he ran into 2 people in green spandex jumpsuits, orange leg warmers, bowl cuts and freakish eyebrows. "Hello there, my youthful friend. It is surprising to see someone up this early besides my pupil and myself. Your flames of youth must be very strong. Where are my manners? I am Konoha's beautiful green beast Mato guy, and this is my pupil," he said, introducing himself and pointing to his pupil. "I am Konoha's handsome devil Rock Lee." His mini-me said. "Uzumaki Naruto. Student of Hatake Kakashi. So you are one of my eternal rival students," he shouted, with fire in his eyes. Well, it was nice to meet you, but I need to get going so I am not late to my test." "Bye," Naruto said and jogged off while the 2 behind him screamed about how bright his flames of youth are. Note to self, avoid them at all costs. Naruto arrived at Training Ground 7 to see Sasuke and Sakura barely staying awake. He decided not to bother them and jumped into the nearest tree branch and took a quick nap. Not 30 minutes later did a poof sound out throughout the area. "Yo," Kakashi said lazily with an eye smile. "You're late," Sakura screamed. "And so is that baka, Naruto. Well, you see, I got lost on the road of life." "Liar!" At that moment, Naruto decided to come out as well. "Wow, I didn't know I was the only one that got lost this morning, sensei. Did you make a wrong turn or did you run into your eternal rival again?" Naruto asked. "I made a wrong turn," he said, silently thanking him for going along with his lie, while wondering when he met Guy. "So here is your test," he said as he pulled out an alarm clock and 2 silver bells. "You have until noon to take these bells from me." "But sensei, there's only 2 bells and 3 of us," Sakura said, confused. "Exactly. That means that one of you will fail. The one who doesn't get one will be tied to a post over there and watch while the rest of us eat. They will also be either sent back to the academy or dropped from the program, entirely depending on your performance. Now, one last piece of advice. Come at me with the intent to kill or you won't pass. Ready, set, go." Kakashi started. 2 of the 3 immediately took off in different directions while Naruto stayed in the same place. Naruto, you did hear me say you could start. Right. However, Naruto wasn't listening. He was too busy thinking about what Kakashi had said. Alright, that just doesn't make any sense. Why would Kakashi-sensei try to split us up like this? Never, in the history of Konoha, has there been fewer than 3 students and 1 sensei, unless they were master and apprentice. There has to be something I'm not seeing. That's it, this is all about teamwork. And great, I got stuck on a team that knows jack shit about teamwork. Well, I guess I could always do that. Yeah, I think I will. Naruto thought. Kakashi watched with mild interest as his student was thinking, as he watched his face go from on-air to realization back to anger, and then smile. So what are you so happy about, Naruto? I think I'll just lay over here and watch the clouds. Tell me how it goes, okay? Naruto said as he did what he said he would and laid on the grass and watched the clouds. Kakashi just ignored it, and went to test Sakura first. Sakura watched as Naruto completely gave up and went to watch the clouds. Gotta find Sasuke-kun. He'll know what to do. After all, he is the strongest one here and he is an Uchiha. Our poor deluded fangirl thought as she loudly stomped through the forest. After about 10 minutes of searching, she found Sasuke leaning up against a tree with a lot of shuriken and kunai stuck in him. She immediately screamed and fainted. Kakashi jumped out of a tree and sighed in disappointment, wondering how accurate those tests are at the academy, before he went after Sasuke, leaving behind a Kagebushin in case anything should happen. A few minutes later, Naruto walked up to her unconscious form, and like Kakashi, shook his head in disappointment. He did some hand seals and performed a small Suit-Ion jutsu to wake her up. Hey, Sakura. Do you want me to help you? I mean, this guy is a jounin, and we're only just out of the academy. Naruto asked as politely as he could. Why the hell would I work with you, Dobe? I'm sure Sasuke-kun already has both bells and is on his way back here to give one to me. After all, he loves me. Besides, Sasuke-kun is the strongest of us all, so if he can't get a bell, which I doubt, then you have absolutely no chance at all, she said, and then went off calling for Sasuke like one would if they were looking for a lost pet. Naruto just sighed and went to look for Sasuke himself, and found him not 5 minutes later submerged in the ground up to his neck. Hey team, need some help? No, I'm an Uchiha. I don't need your pathetic help. Nu, leave me alone. You do realize you tried to single-handedly take down a jounin who used to be an ANBU captain, right? That doesn't matter. He will bow before me and give me those bells, he said, struggling to get out. Fine, but don't complain that I didn't try to help you, he said as he walked away, sensing Kakashi not 30 meters away in a clearing. When he got there, Kakashi was reading a familiar orange book and looked completely oblivious to his surroundings. But Naruto knew better than to underestimate him. Hey sensei, how is the book? It's just getting to the good part, he said lazily, not even looking up. Okay, well, I'm ready now, so is it okay if I start? When Kakashi shrugged, he took it as an okay. Naruto immediately shot off towards his sensei, surprising him at how fast he was, and launched a punch to his stomach that was blocked. He then dropped to the ground and used his momentum to bring his leg up for a reverse axe kick. Kakashi just dodged to the left and punched Naruto in the chest, causing him to lose his balance and fall backwards. That was pretty good, sensei. It looks like I'll have to take it up a notch, Naruto said as he got up. I don't think Academy Taijutsu will work on you, so here is my own. Naruto then got into his stance where his hands were close to his chest, while his legs were spread and slightly bent at the knees. Kakashi just stood there wondering what style this was, as he has never seen it before. Naruto then shot off again towards Kakashi, going even faster, and launched a sweep kick, followed by a punch and then a roundhouse, the last one actually connecting to the side of his ribs. Kakashi was shocked that, not only could a genin go this fast, but that said genin had just fractured one of his ribs and cracked another. They went at it for a few minutes, trading blows. When they stopped, they both had bruises covering their bodies. Kakashi's were from blocking Naruto's hits, while the blonde's were mostly from getting hit. Though they were slowly healing thanks to Miho. Wow, that was good. But can we do a little ninjutsu now? At Kakashi's nod, Naruto started to do hand seals. Sutun, Teppadama, Naruto said as he spat water bullets at his sensei. Kakashi just dodged and began doing seals of his own. Katan, Ryoka no Jutsu, he said as a fire dragon erupted from his mouth and flew at his student. Suetun, Sujin Hiki. A wall of water rose in front of Naruto and protected him from the fire. He did more hand seals, causing the wall to fall. This is one of my own creation, sensei. I hope you like it. Raitun, Hekareki Hoipa. Suddenly lightning began to form around Naruto's hand and then extended to almost 6 meters. As Kakashi watched, he was subtly impressed. It seemed to use the same principles as his Raikiri, and then extended it so it looked like a whip. But because of that, the power is significantly lower, making it, what Kakashi believed, a high C solid A rank jutsu if enough chakra was applied. Unfortunately, right as Naruto was going to attack, the bell went off. Naruto stopped his jutsu, nodded to his sensei, and then walked off towards the alarm. It wasn't long before he got there, and no more than a few seconds later did the other three arrive. Well, you, Sasuke and Sakura both fail. What? How did we fail, while the Dobe didn't? If anyone should fail, it's him. The Banshee screeched. You're right. All of them looked confused at that. You shouldn't just fail. You two should be dropped from the program altogether. You didn't even get the point of this exercise while Naruto did. What do you mean there was a point to this? We were just supposed to get the bells, right? Kakashi was again wondering how she was the smartest to graduate when she keeps asking stupid questions. He just nodded to Naruto, telling him to explain. What Sensei is saying is that this was all about teamwork. Think about it, has there ever been a team in the history of Konoha that didn't have 3 students and 1 sensei? Unless it was master and apprentice? No. This whole thing was to see how well we work together. I even offered to help both of you, but you both turned me down, Naruto explained. Very good, Naruto, but since you failed to get the bells, you will be sent. Kakashi didn't get to finish because Naruto had just removed 2 silver bells from his pocket. Kakashi looked to his belt only to see a genjutsu fade and 2 small pebbles to appear. When did you get them, Naruto? During our little taijutsu battle. It was tricky, but I got him. So who is going to pass with you? Sasuke or Sakura? He asked. Well, since this is all about teamwork, I'll give one to each of them, he said, and reluctantly tossed a bell to each of them. There, we all pass. Bye. He poofed away. Kakashi then lectured the other 2 about teamwork for about 20 minutes, and then went off to meet with Hokage-sama to report how his team did. Meanwhile, at said meeting, the Hokage and several jounins were waiting patiently for Kakashi to arrive. When said man walked in, he gave a lazy waved his hand and gave a lame excuse as to why he was late. Sigh, now that you're here, Kakashi, we can begin. The elderly Hokage said, lighting his pipe with a small katan jutsu. Team 1 fail. Team 2, sent back to the academy. Team 3, dropped from program. Teams 4, 5, and 6 were all sent back to the academy. Team 7 passes. Kakashi said, not looking up from his book. Everyone was shocked. Several of them muttered about how it was the Uchiha had done everything. Kakashi, seeing as this is the first time you have passed the team, why don't you enlighten us as to how they did? Sarutobi asked, breathing out some smoke from his pipe. Well, it was all thanks to Naruto. The second this was said, many of the jounin started saying things like the demon couldn't have done anything and that it was all because of the Uchiha. I had used an E-ranked genjutsu on Sakura, and she fainted on the spot. The Uchiha is average genin with taijutsu and knows 1 katan jutsu. I took him down without having to look away from my book. Naruto, on the other hand, from what I could tell, knew almost immediately after the test started that it was about teamwork. He offered to help both of his teammates, but they shot him down, believing that they could do it on their own. With his taijutsu, ninjutsu and stealth alone, he could pass as a rookie jounin. I'm sure that if he had used weapons, genjutsu, and anything else he knew and had some experience, he could easily be a jounin. Everyone was shocked at this, none more so than the Hokage. They were even more shocked at what he said next. He even made his own jutsu. It looked like he took the same principles I use for Chidori and Rikiri, then extends it to about 6 meters, almost like a whip. If I had to classify it, I'd say at its weakest it would be high C, but with enough chakra it could easily be an A-rank jutsu. Everyone was completely shocked at this. Well, I'll have to ask him about all of this later. So let's continue. Karina, I believe you were next. Team 8 passes, said a woman with red eyes, raven black hair, and wearing a dress that accented her figure, especially around her assets, as does Team 10. A jounin with spiky hair and a beard, with a cigarette in his mouth. This was Sarutobi Asuma, the Sandame's son. Very well. You're all dismissed. They all left either in a poof of smoke, or through the door. Hawk, get me Naruto. An Anbu moved from the shadows and bowed to the Hokage before poofing off to get Naruto. The Sandame sighed at the thought of how much of a headache Naruto was going to cause in the future, and all the damn paperwork that would undoubtedly follow. A few minutes later, Hawk and Naruto showed up in a poof of smoke, and Sarutobi dismissed the Anbu with a wave of his hand. Naruto, do you know why I called you here? When the boy shook his head, Sarutobi just sighed. Naruto, I want to know how you know so much about taijutsu and more ninjutsu theory than a fresh academy student should. Ah, well, you didn't think the only thing I was looking at was the ceiling books, did you, Gigi? Naruto said nervously. How did you learn all of those jutsu and taijutsu moves? Well, let's just say that village security sucks, and leave it at that. Naruto said, not meeting the Hokage's gaze. Sigh, Naruto, I'm gonna have to ask you how you keep getting around our security. Sarutobi said, getting more serious than Naruto had seen him. Well, most of the time the guards are asleep, or not even there. Like right now, there are a lot of male ANBU that should be patrolling the village trying to look at all the female ANBU in the hot springs right now. Several of them are in bars getting hammered and some are at home doing adult things. I think the only ones that are actually doing their jobs are the ones in here and the ones on missions. Plus the security routine never changes, so I know it by heart, Naruto said, looking down at his twiddling thumbs. The Hokage couldn't believe what he had just heard. His ANBU, that were supposed to be patrolling the village to make sure it was safe, were goofing off. His security teams were falling asleep on the job. He was getting angry at his ANBU, and unleashing large amounts of killer intent, KI. He would have to talk to them ASAP, about their performance. He was making Naruto slightly uncomfortable, and when he noticed he stopped immediately. Alright Naruto, I want you to go into detail about how the security is in this village. So for the next couple of hours, as Sarutobi did some paperwork, Naruto went into detail about how bad the village security was. From the Hyuga guards not even using their Byakugan half the time to how some shinobi and kunoichi completely shirked their responsibilities. When the sun was going down, Naruto had finally finished going over everything he knew about the village's security, and Naruto had never seen his Gigi so angry. Naruto, you are not to tell anyone about this. If these secrets get out before we can fix them, the village may be in big trouble. Do you understand? At Naruto's nod, the elderly Hokage sat back in his chair and sighed. Can I go now, Gigi? At this he just nodded. Oh hey, do you know when I'm supposed to meet my team tomorrow? Well, seeing as it is Kakashi, training ground 7 sometime around 9 or 10. Now run along, he said, dismissing Naruto. As Naruto was about to leave, though, a thought struck him, and he had a shit-eating grin on his face. Hey Gigi. What would you do if I told you how to defeat your paperwork? The second that was said, Sarutobi was at Naruto's feet, faster than the Hiraishin, bowing, begging Naruto to tell him. The ANBU in the room's sweat dropped at their leader's current attitude, but were still listening with interest as they, too, had a lot of paperwork that they had to do. Alright, Gigi. I'll tell you, but only on one condition. What? I'll do anything. Please just tell me, he said with anime tears going down his face. Okay, you can't tell the next Hokage, as I want them to be tortured by it for a little while. Sarutobi nodded his head as fast as he could, then Naruto said 2 magical words, Kagebushin. Then jumped out the window, laughing all the way home. He was shocked at this. He, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage famed for being called the god of shinobi, and the professor had never realized this in his 40 or so years as Hokage, especially since he had known that jutsu for more than 30 years. He quickly got to his feet, made 3 clones and set them to work while he grabbed a familiar orange book, plopped himself down on the couch, and began reading where he left off. Chapter 4. Fated Mission and Surprise. Kill human, kill demon/summon, kill thoughts. The last 5 months, for Naruto, at least as far as missions went, were absolutely terrible. Even though Tenten had told him the type of missions he would go on, he thought she was just exaggerating. They had him picking up trash, fixing and painting fences, babysitting, running errands, cleaning houses. The best one was chasing the so-called demon cat Tora. The others were just demeaning in his opinion, and after the first few, he refused to go on any more of the so-called missions and just sent a Kagebushin to most of them. He and Tenten had gone on a few more dates, mostly to Ichiraku's, or out on a picnic followed by a walk. Tenten had moved into the apartment complex with Naruto about 2 weeks after they met, and her old one was turned into a new clothing store. About 2.5 months of going on dates, they made it official, and became a couple. A week after that, Naruto met her team, and was surprised when he saw the 2 green spandex wearing clones, and a Hyuga, who unsurprisingly, had a pole stuck up his ass. When he said this out loud, Tenten giggled, while Lee was holding his hand over his mouth trying not to laugh, and the Hyuga gave him the patented Hyuga death glare. When they told her teammates they were dating, her sensei and his clone went on about how their flames of youth were overpowering and went off on one of their "I will do this, and if I cannot do that I will do this" rants, and then went off to complete them. After their 4th date, Tenten noticed that the people often glared at the 2 of them, or more specifically Naruto. At first she brushed it off, thinking they still hated him for all of his pranks, but when she heard them whispering about the demon and the demon's horror, she became curious as to what they were talking about. That night she pressed Naruto to tell her. Flashback no jutsu. Come on, Naruto. Tell me why they were calling us those names, she said, glaring him with a look that said tell me now or no Tenten for a month. Sigh, I was hoping I wouldn't have to cross this bridge for a long time. Follow me, he said as he went to his apartment and to the kitchen and made some tea, as she went to the table and sat down and patiently waited for him. When he sat down with the tea, he began fidgeting and getting nervous. Come on, Naruto, it can't be that bad, can it? She then saw the look on his face. It screamed fear, uncertainty and sadness. Can it? She asked uncertainly. Tenten, what do you know about the Kyuubi? Well, it was killed by Yondaime-sama almost 13 years ago at the cost of his own life. But what does that have to do with anything? That is only the story told to the younger generation, and is only half true. The truth is, nobody, not even Yondaime-sama, could kill the Kyuubi, because you can't kill Bija. He did the next best thing and sealed it into a newborn child. The child grew up hated, malnourished, abused, and neglected. Tenten was slightly confused at this until slowly realization hit her. It's you, isn't it? She whispered, looking down. A few seconds later she looked up to see Naruto have tears silently falling down his face. What's wrong, Naruto? Now that you know the truth, you're going to leave me and hate me like everyone else, he sobbed. He then felt a stinging sensation on his cheek and looked up to see Tenten looking at him furiously, and realized she had just slapped him. Don't be stupid, you baka. I'm smart enough to know the difference between a kunai and the scroll it's sealed in, she said, as she walked around the table and kissed his forehead before hugging him. Naruto hugged her back as he buried his face in her chest and cried for almost 20 minutes before calming down. TT, thank you, Tenchan. I needed TT that, he sobbed, wiping his tears. But I must warn you that this is an S-class secret, and revealing it to someone who doesn't already know is punishable by death. And the only exceptions are me and the reigning Hokage. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. After that they had only gotten closer, going on dates more often, sleeping together more, nothing perverted, just sleeping and the occasional makeout session. Naruto had increased his training by adding a weight seal to his katana, so that when he took it off he would be able to swing it faster. Right now it was at only 50 pounds. Unfortunately, when he added the weight and began to train with it, he had to relearn his stances so his muscles could get used to the movement again. One day Tenten had stumbled across him training with it, and quickly ran over to him and asked to see it. She was amazed at the quality, and the fact that it was black. She had never seen anything like it. When she tried to touch it, however, Naruto quickly swatted her hand away. She immediately got furious at him, and demanded he tell her why he did that. When he told her there was a defense mechanism on it so that only he could touch it, and that he didn't know what would happen to the person that tried to take it, she calmed down and apologized to him. He had learned a few more ninjutsu, a couple futon and a katan, but nothing else. He had upped his chakra control so that he had not only had tree walking, water walking and kunai balancing, but also saman balancing, waterfall walking, and was currently working on doing kunai balancing with the leaf sticking on multiple spots on his body, putting his overall control at mid-jounin, and his overall skills at low-jounin. Since he didn't have much experience, things with his team weren't going so well. While he could handle Kakashi's tardiness, since he would just train on his own and send a Kagebushin anyway, he was quickly becoming very annoyed with his so-called teammates. The Uchiha always tried to follow him, demanding he teach him something, believing that since he was an Uchiha elite, he should be the strongest on the team and not some no-name clanless dobe, while Sakura followed him around, ignoring her shinobi skills, and tried to get Naruto to stop being such a stubborn baka, and teach her precious Sasuke-kun everything he knew and that he should be honored to do so. He was really close to just killing them, but then he would have to face the esteemed council, which he didn't mind the shinobi side. He mostly hated the civilian side and the elders, and he didn't particularly want to deal with them. He had even taken to some of his sensei's quirks and began to read books while walking, though they were usually his sealing book or the bingo book that he had gotten from sneaking into the ANBU HQ, instead of the smut his sensei reads. He had also met Sarutobi's grandson, Konoha Maru. At first he thought he was just some spoiled little brat that thought there was a shortcut to anything in life, like the Uchiha and their Sharingan. That is until the kid followed him around and they talked a bit. Naruto had a talk with him about how there was no such thing as a shortcut when you want something, and Konoha Maru respected him as a rival for the position of Hokage, and because he was the first person to call him by his name, and not honorable grandson, or the Hokage's grandson, Naruto taught him a couple of things, nothing dangerous, mostly physical training, and played with him on occasion when he wasn't busy. Today he decided to go to his team meeting and lucked out with getting the Capture Tora mission. Emo King in position. I will kill you, dobe. Screaming Banshee, ready to go. Fuck you, Naruto baka. Black Dragon 3 meters from target. This is Lazy Cyclopes. Ready go. Seconds later the sounds of an angry cat could be heard as well as the sound of two people screaming as said angry cat scratched up their faces and then purring as our favorite. Blonde picked it up off of Sakura's face and began to pet it. The two just glared at the blonde as he confirmed that it was indeed Tora. After a 15-minute walk with Sasuke brooding and still trying to think of a way to get the dobe to teach his secrets, and Sakura grumbling about how the demon cat ruined her pretty hair and face. When they got to the tower and up to the missions hall, they gave the cat over to her owner and waited to receive a new mission. Alright Team 7. We have multiple missions that you could do. Would you like to walk the Inuzuka's dogs, paint council member Hoshi's fence, or, no Tora, sweetie come back, or catch Tora again? At this Sasuke and Sakura were about to blow a gasket, both believing that Sasuke deserved a better mission because he is an Uchiha, and they did. You stupid old man. I am an Uchiha and I demand that you give me a better mission. These missions are pathetic and unworthy of someone of my status. Yeah, you old fucktard, give Sasuke-kun what he wants, or I'll tell my mother how you didn't, as she's on the council, and we'll vote you out of office for someone who gives Sasuke-kun what he wants. The pink banshee had struck again. Naruto and Kakashi had been watching the Hokage's face the whole time and slowly slid away from the other two. Are you implying, Genin, that you have the authority to order me, the Hokage, around? And that the council has any say in what goes on with my shinobi? The elderly Hokage asked, aiming some ki at the two. No, of course not, Hokage-sama. I'm sorry. Sakura immediately said, being the ass-kisser that she is, while Sasuke just brushed it off with a HN. So, can we get a better mission or not, Gigi? Naruto asked, completely dissipating the fear everyone was feeling. I guess you can. You have completed the required amount of D-rank missions. I have just the mission in fact. The old man then searched a pile of C-rank missions that were to his left, and then pulled out a scroll and tossed it to Kakashi. That is for a C-rank escort and protection mission. You are to escort the client home to Wave Country, and protect him until his bridge is finished. Alright everyone, since it's getting dark we'll start tomorrow. Meet at the North Gate at 8 sharp. Before he could leave, however, Naruto asked a question. Sensei, is that 8 a.m. normal people time? Or 8 a.m. Kakashi time? Normal. Ja. And he poofed away to read his smut. Naruto shortly followed him and went home. He met up with Tenten and told her that he would be gone for a few weeks. She was happy that he was finally going on a C-rank mission, but was also sad that she wouldn't get any Naruto time. So that night, to celebrate, Tenten made a home-cooked meal of sashimi, with rice, grilled fish, and tea. Naruto even spent the night at her place so that he could have his final moments of Tenten time. The next morning, Naruto woke up to his mother telling him he needed to get ready. He laid there for a minute or two, admiring Tenten's beauty. Then he silently got up, careful not to wake her, got dressed and shined to his apartment. He took a quick shower, changed his clothes, and grabbed an apple from his fridge. He also grabbed the things he would need, such as food, clothes, and extra weapons, and sealed them into scrolls, properly labeling them before putting them on his belt. Naruto arrived at the north gate around 7:15 to see that he was the first one there. He also saw that Kotetsu and Izumo, longtime admirers of his pranks, had gate duty again and began talking to them. Sasuke showed up, eyed the dobe, preparing to put his next plan into action and the subsequent backup should it fail, then went over and leaned against the tree and glared at the dirt. Naruto saw this out of the corner of his eye and wondered if he was trying to set the dirt on fire or something, before going back to his previous conversation. Sakura arrived a few minutes later, feeling good about herself because she had gotten up 2 hours early to make sure her hair and makeup was perfect, so that she would have the optimal chances of catching Sasuke-kun's eye. A couple of minutes after 8, they saw their sensei walking down the street towards them with another man. The man had a gray sleeveless shirt, brown pants, glasses, gray beard, a straw hat and a bottle of sake in his hand, and was clearly partially drunk. "Yo," Kakashi said. Naruto, being suspicious, attacked him. When he was questioned as to why, Naruto answered, "Our sensei is never on time, so it was surprising to see him do so." Naruto deadpanned, "Right. Well, let's do a quick equipment check." Sasuke, "I have 3 extra sets of clothes, several sets of extra kunai and shuriken, some ninja wire, and a few paper bombs," he said, opening his pack for his sensei to see inside, while looking off to the side glaring at something that Naruto thought was invisible to everyone but the Uchiha. After Kakashi had checked his bag, he asked for Naruto's. "Hi. I have several sets of clothes, extra kunai and shuriken, some rations bars, 50 paper bombs and flash tags, my sealing equipment with extra ink, food, smoke pellets, emergency first aid kit, money, and the latest bingo book. And my blackmail material," Naruto said, indicating the different scrolls on his belt and pulling out the bingo book from his back pouch. The others just stared at him, wondering where he got all of that, but were unable to ask as Kakashi asked Sakura to show him her pack. "Well, I've got my 10 most beautiful outfits, and my favorite accessories, my shampoo and conditioner, my special soap, the latest fashion magazines, my nail polish, some pictures of," looks at Sasuke, who was still glaring at that invisible thing, and blushed, "and my brand new perfume," she said with a dreamy look in her eyes, daydreaming about how her Sasuke-kun was going to rescue her, while the other save Sasuke, still glaring, were looking at her like she had just grown another head. "Sakura, we aren't going to a spa. Why did you pack all of this unnecessary stuff?" "Unnecessary? But sensei, how am I going to get Sasuke-kun to look at me if I'm not beautiful?" she stupidly asked. Kakashi just mentally sighed and was grateful he had prepared for this and pulled out a scroll from his bag and tossed it to her. "That is the basic equipment for a C-rank mission. You are to leave everything else but your clothes here." After a bit of whining on Sakura's part, she tossed her stuff to the guards and ordered them to take it home for her or her mother would hear about it, and Kotetsu, not wanting to be on the receiving end of the queen of the pink-haired howler monkeys as the shinobi referred to her as, reluctantly did so, grumbling about spoiled brats. At that same moment Tazuna, the client, sobered up enough from his alcohol and the recent stupidity and started to comment. "What? I paid for shinobi, not a spoiled brat and emo. The blonde seems okay, at least he's paying attention." Kakashi had to restrain Sakura from attacking him. "Team, this is Tazuna. He is the client. That means you can't kill him, Sakura. But you really shouldn't insult shinobi, Tazuna-san. We are here to protect you after all. Plus, if there is something they can handle, I am a jounin." "Yeah, whatever. Let's just go already," Tazuna said and began walking down the path, while the shinobi followed shortly. A few hours later we find Team 7, walking down the road doing their own thing while staying somewhat close to Tazuna. Naruto and Kakashi had their heads in the latest version of their respective book. Sasuke was brooding, trying to find a way to activate his plan, and Sakura was huffing and puffing after such a long walk, while still trying to get a date with her Sasuke-kun, and he just ignored her. Tazuna was happily drinking his sake. After a few more miles, Naruto and Kakashi noticed a puddle on the side of the road, and knew that something was off. Naruto briefly looked at his sensei, who gave the smallest shake of his head. Naruto accepted that and then looked to see if the other two had noticed, which they hadn't. When they passed the puddle, 2 figures immediately popped out and tied their chain around Kakashi and pulled, causing said man to fall into a pile of flesh. This scared Tazuna, but mostly Sakura, as she had never seen someone die before. She wet herself and fainted. "Kami-sama, she is so fucking useless," Naruto thought as he drew his sword, amazing his hidden sensei, and making the Uchiha jealous that the dobe had a sword but he didn't. "Language," Miho chided. "Where did the dobe get that katana?" Sasuke thought. "1 down," the one on the right said. 3 to go. The other finished. They were about to attack when they heard someone else call out an attack. "Hiten Michiruji Ryu, Ryusosen, Naruto flashed out of existence and appeared behind the enemy. What the hell was that supposed to be, Gaki? You didn't even touch us. The right one said as they both began laughing. Naruto, however, remained calm and began sheathing his sword. When it clicked into place, multiple gashes appeared on the two, primarily on their extremities, causing them to fall over. What are the demon brothers doing here? Sensei, come on out. Naruto said. Very good, Naruto. Sasuke, I expected better. Sakura, he sighed. He had tried everything to get her trained seriously but couldn't drop her from the program because her mother was on the council, something he didn't want to deal with. The brothers soon passed out and died from blood loss. While Kakashi was talking to Tazuna about why he lied to them, Naruto was talking to Miho. Ka-san, aren't the demon brothers known to associate with Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the mist? Yes, they do. So we can. Mio just paused as she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Ka-san? You still there? Naruto, I can feel your mother's chakra signature. Turn left and go about 3 kilometers. Naruto's head snapped up and turned to his left. This didn't go unnoticed by Kakashi, who had just finished hearing Tazuna's sob story about Gato, and how he is slowly draining the country financially. Naruto, is everything okay? He asked. Naruto didn't respond and just took off into the woods. Kakashi reacted quickly and created a Kagebushin to protect his students and client. Sasuke, hide in the woods and protect Tazuna and Sakura. Do not follow us. He didn't wait for a response and took off after Naruto. Naruto was jumping from tree branch to tree branch. He had already released his resistance seal all the way down to 0, so if anyone were to look, all they would see was a black, crimson and yellow blur. Naruto could feel his sensei coming up behind but just ignored him and sped up. Kakashi was struggling to keep up with his student and was wondering when he got so fast. Though he had to admit he was proud that his student took his training seriously. After about 15 minutes of running, Naruto stopped at the edge of a clearing and saw a small cabin with a garden that had various vegetables growing. He moved closer to the cabin. She's in there, Miho said. Kakashi had just entered the clearing and saw Naruto walking up to a cabin. He rushed over to his student and grabbed him and turned him around. Naruto was almost to the cabin when someone turned him around, and he came face to face with his sensei glaring at him with his one eye. Naruto, do you have any idea what you're doing? Of course I do. My mother is in there and I'm going to meet her, he said. Naruto, I was a friend of your mother's. I know she is dead. Right now you are jeopardizing the mission. What if this is just some elaborate scheme set up by bandits? Did you ever think about that? But it's not. Now let me go. You will not stop me, he said, unconsciously channeling Miho's chakra, turning his eyes red with slit pupils and his whisker marks to deepen. It was at that moment that the door to the cabin opened, and a woman appeared. She had long red hair and bright green eyes. She was wearing a black skin-tight tank, with a crimson skirt and black spandex shorts underneath. She wasn't wearing any shoes, but she did have a kunai in her hand. She looked from the blonde to the silver-haired man, and her eyes widened in surprise. Kakashi? Is that you? Said the woman. The silver-haired man looked up from scolding his student to see the woman. Quickly taking in her appearance, he recognized her. Kushina-sama, you're alive. Of course I am. Why would I be dead? And who's the kid? She asked, looking back at the blonde whose eyes had turned back to blue. I am Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Your son, he stated, looking directly into her eyes, which seemed to start producing tears, then shifted to fury. How dare you? You insolent asshole. How dare you insult the memory of my dead son? Get out of here before I kill you, she said, releasing small amounts of Ki. What, but it's me. I really am Naruto. You can ask Sensei. He's known me since I was really small. If that doesn't convince you, I can prove it. I am the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Kitsune. She was sealed into me by my father Namikaze Minato using the Shiki Fuin, he said as he pulled his shirt up and channeled some chakra into the seal on his stomach, causing the seal to appear. The woman was shocked, but then thought that anyone with basic sealing knowledge can copy it and use it for such a purpose as to distract her and then capture her, kill her, or worse. This is one of the reasons that she kept her shinobi training up, so she could deal with assholes like this. Yeah right, kid, nice try, but anyone can copy it from a book. And drop the henge already, it's getting really annoying, she said as she was seconds from killing him. I'm not lying to you. Miho always told me you were so kind and caring and understanding. At that, the woman's head snapped to him. How do you know about her? She questioned. Kakashi at this point was really confused. How would I not? She is sealed in me and my surrogate mother, he said as he channeled her chakra again, and his eyes turned red with slits. His whiskers became darker and more pronounced. Now do you believe me? He said as tears started to flow down his cheeks. Naruto? At both his and Kakashi's nod, she glomped him. My little baby. Oh, look how big you are, she said as she stroked his hair, and he cried into her chest. They stayed like that for several minutes before Naruto pulled away and wiped his tears. Why? She looked confused at the question. Why did you abandon me there? I didn't abandon you. I was told you didn't survive the sealing. I had no idea you were still alive. I'm so sorry, Naruto. The elders brought me your body and I just ran. She was sobbing at this point. Naruto though was channeling Miho's chakra even more and letting out his ki, officially scaring both his mother and sensei. Those fucking elders. I'll kill them all. Naruto was then smacked on the back of his head, his anger dissipating, and looked at his mother who had a disapproving look on her face. Watch your language, young man. I may not have been able to raise you, but I doubt Miho would let you cuss like that. Naruto just mumbled a quick yes ma'am. So is this what you've been up to the last 13 years, Kushina-sama? Kakashi asked, making himself known to the two Uzumakis. Yeah, pretty much. I've kept with my training too, just in case I should ever need it again, and it looks like I do. So what's this I hear about you being on a mission? And Kakashi, I thought I told you to not call me Kushina-sama anymore, and that you could just call me Kushina. Oh right, we're on a mission to escort someone to Wave. Hey sensei, should we get back to the others and make sure they haven't done something stupid? Right, I forgot about them. Kushina, do you want to come with us? It could be a good chance for you to learn about Naruto. She nodded and went back into the house to pack a few things. She came out about 10 minutes later with a small bag filled with scrolls and a chikuto strapped to her back in a horizontal fashion. Wow, Mom, you look great. Thanks, but I think we should get going. Kakashi, I can't believe you left 2 genin to protect the client. She chided. I left a Kagebushin. It hasn't dispelled, so I'm sure they're fine. He replied dismissively. They took off toward the road. Naruto had already reapplied his resistance seal, so they went at a slightly slower pace and got back to the road where they found Tazuna and Sasuke arguing, and Sakura, being the lost puppy she is, was trying to help him. Kakashi's clone had disappeared. A second later, said man got a memory from his clone and it apparently thought it was a good idea to leave these 3 alone while it went scouting. Let's go, we're going to finish this mission. They haven't come back, so that must mean they are dead. Sasuke said, trying to pull the old man with him. Yeah, come on you lazy old man, let's go. Sakura screeched her input. What the hell are you two doing? Kakashi asked, glaring at the two. Because you weren't back I assumed you to be dead, and, as an Uchiha, I took my rightful place as leader of this mission. Yeah, Sasuke-kun should have been leading this mission from the start. Kushina stood by quietly observing the two before her, with her eyebrow twitching, while Kakashi scolded them. The boy, from what he said, is an Uchiha, so she wasn't surprised by his I am holier than thou attitude. The only good people from that whole clan were Obito, and Itachi and Mikoto in her opinion. The pink-haired one was, by the lungs and hair color, obviously Isako's brat, and she was just like her mother, a whore that would do whatever it took to get her man, and she had her eyes on the Uchiha. Do you understand? One more stunt like this and I will write you both up for endangering the client. Sasuke just scoffed and looked away, while Sakura watched him do so. Kakashi-san? Tazuna asked, pointing to Kushina. Who is that? This caught the attention of Sasuke and subsequently Sakura. This, Tazuna, is Uzumaki Kushina, Naruto's mother and a jounin of our village. I sent for backup while we were gone, as the two that attacked earlier are known associates of Momochi Zabuza. She is quite possibly the second fastest shinobi in our village. Nice to meet you, Tazuna. Kushina said, sticking her hand out. They shook hands and exchanged pleasantries. Naruto Baka doesn't have parents. Everyone knows they abandoned him because of his stupidity. Sakura screamed as though it was fact. Kushina had to use all of her control not to kill the brat, and just started walking toward Wave, signaling Naruto to follow her. Kakashi just sighed and told Tazuna to come along. The other two slowly followed behind. As the hours went by, Kakashi read his book. Sakura tried to get Sasuke on a date. Naruto wondered if she ever gave up. And the emo bastard, that the more Naruto thought about it, seemed to be gay, ignored her to stare into space. While Naruto and Kushina were talking quietly about what they had been doing for the last 13 years, Naruto of course edited most of his, believing it to be better to tell her when they were alone. Kushina could tell but let it drop for the time being. When he got to Tenten, she couldn't stop teasing him about her, and was excited to meet her. And when she heard about his pranks, she couldn't stop laughing, especially when she heard about the Hyuga underwear incident and the Uchiha white hair problem. She even said something that made his day, even more than meeting her. You're just like your father. Always pulling pranks and causing chaos as a child. They made it to a shoreline that had a boat waiting for them. The boatman looked at all the people. There was one more than he had room for. When he made this known to the group, Kakashi, out of the kindness of his, "Oh, who am I kidding?" Kushina looked at him with the every kunoichi's patented "do it or I'll rip your balls off with a rusty spoon and shove them up your ass" glare, and he volunteered to walk there on the water, surprising the civilians and Sakura, while the Uchiha just thought why he hadn't been taught that yet, even though he was an Uchiha. When Naruto also volunteered to do it so that everyone would have more room, Sasuke just fumed in anger that the dope once again knew something he didn't. "Wow, that's a big bridge," Sakura loudly exclaimed as they saw a bridge in the distance. "Sure. We're trying not to alert Gato to our presence." "Why do you think I turned the engine off?" the boatman said, irritated. "Yeah, come on, you're supposed to be the smartest graduate of this year, whose skill is supposed to surpass mine, and yet you can't shut up for 5 minutes like any good shinobi can," Naruto said quietly, not even looking at her. She would have yelled at him but received a pointed glare from her sensei, and then wondered what she did wrong. Not long after that they landed on the other side and began walking towards Tazuna's place. As they were walking, Naruto felt someone in the bushes watching them and threw a kunai at them, scaring Sakura, and causing Tazuna to jump. When he went to check on the person, he was surprised to find a white rabbit. When he brought it back to the group, Sakura scolded him, but he, along with Kakashi and his mom, were wondering the same thing. This rabbit is white, but it should be brown during this season. So either it's a long way from home or, everybody down. The three said. Naruto grabbed Tazuna, while his mom and sensei got Sakura and Sasuke, respectively, and dragged them to the ground. When they looked up, they saw a giant sword crash into a tree and a man land on top of it. He had short spiky black hair, and Kiri Hittite with a slash through it on his head, no eyebrows, was shirtless, and wearing light blue pants, and bandages covering his mouth. Hatake Kakashi, also known as Sharingan Kakashi, the shinobi that copied over 1,000 jutsu and a few genin. As well as he looked over to Kushina and studied her appearance for a second before fear and realization settled in as he recognized her. You can't be alive, you were reported dead almost 13 years ago. He said, pointing to Kwahina. Well, I'm not. And according to the recent bingo book I borrowed from my son, you are Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist. XCNBU captain and member of the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist and master of the silent killing method. She replied in a bored tone. Yes, I am, and according to your last entry, you are Uzumaki Kushina, known as the Red Death and the Bloody Queen, one of the 4 kunoichi to have an S rank in the bingo book in the last 100 years, and the second to come from Konoha. Your skill with a sword has even been compared to the 7 swordsmen, he said, putting up a facade of calmness, but on the inside he was terrified. To run into her of all people was horrible. Today just wasn't his lucky day. Sasuke was listening to this and started to come up with a way to get her to teach him. If she is as strong as this guy says, then he will be able to kill him in no time. He believed she would train him, because he was an Uchiha, and he always gets what he wants. Well, I'm sure you want to fight me, but in all honesty I want to see how much Kakashi here has improved. She turned to him with an innocent smile on her face. Now go on, Kakashi, she said sweetly. Kakashi just sighed and walked forward, removing his Hittite from his left eye, as he went and revealed his Sharingan eye. What? How does he have a Sharingan? That belongs to my clan, Sasuke thought in anger at an outsider having something of his clan's. Pulling that out already? I must be special. Kirigakure no Jutsu, he said, and the mist started to thicken. Everyone guard the client. Remember, he can kill you before you realize it, so be careful. Kakashi's voice rang out from the mist. Cliffhanger no Jutsu. Now on to the story. The mist surrounding them got thicker as the 3 genin surrounded Tazuna, though Sakura was close to wetting herself again, and Kushina, on the outside, didn't look like she cared at all and just stood there, was actually tensing her muscles preparing to fight if Zabuza attacked the client, or her son. The mist got so thick that they couldn't see Kakashi anymore. 8 points: lung, liver, heart, jugular, subclavian artery, brain, kidneys, spine, larynx. Now which should I strike first? Zabuza's voice was heard throughout the clearing, his bloodlust and ki, laced in with his words. Naruto tried to use his senses to track him but was having a lot of trouble. He could barely feel the man's chakra signature, and his scent was non-existent. He thought for a second on how to find him when he remembered something he read. Many shinobi jounin rank and above have the ability to suppress their chakra to a point where no one can feel it. In a situation like this, many shinobi turn to the team's tracker, however not every team has one. This has happened a lot over the years as many people find learning to track is too hard and they quit. A solution to this was created, however. It was the birth of sensory-type shinobi. They go through roughly a 6-week training course to learn how to sense an opponent. One of their more potent jutsu is the chakra denpatanchi, chakra radar. They pulsate their chakra into their surroundings and use it like a bat would use its ultrasonic hearing, feeling their chakra bounce off of what they are looking for, and then let the combat specialist of the team know. That's it. I just have to figure out how to do it before we die. Naruto thought before he closed his eyes and concentrated on his chakra. He focused it into an invisible dome around himself, and tried to pulsate it. It only went a couple feet. He saw what had to be his team and the client, though he couldn't tell who was who as everything was so blurry. He tried again, focusing his chakra even finer, and let it pulsate. This time everyone was a little sharper, but he also noticed an extra person right in the middle of them with something really big in his hand over his shoulder. He knew who this was. It was Zabuza. He had gotten past them. It seems that I win this time, Kakashi, Zabuza said as he lifted his sword preparing to cut their client in half. Naruto reacted quickly by turning around and at the same time drawing his blade, and slashed at the so-called demon. He was surprised that he was able to cut the man, but was even more surprised when the Zabuza started to leak something that wasn't blood, but water. A second later he collapsed into a puddle. Impressive for a brat to be able to sense my clone. You must be a sensory-type shinobi. No, I'm not. I just learned how to use their more famous jutsu, the chakra denpatanchiki. I'm more of a combat specialist, Naruto said, glancing from side to side trying to figure out where he was based on his voice. He couldn't. Zabuza's voice just seemed to come from all directions at once. How is the dobe doing this? How can he be so calm while I, an Uchiha elite, am scared for my life? and can't even sense this guy. What am I thinking? I'm an Uchiha, this lowlife wouldn't dare hurt me. Sasuke thinks while smirking, completely believing what he thought was true. Suddenly sounds of clashing metal could be heard to their right, near the lake. The mist slightly dissipated enough so that they could see their sensei struggling to hold off Zabuza's sword with a kunai. Zabuza had a small cut on his right forearm and another on his left thigh. Kakashi had a few cuts littering his body. The most noticeable was the one horizontally on his lower back. All of a sudden Zabuza dropped down, causing Kakashi to lose his balance for a second. But that was all Zabuza needed and proceeded to kick Kakashi in the side, and he tumbled over into the lake. The water, it's heavier than it should be. He was brought out of his thoughts when Zabuza stood next to him and said, Suruo no Jutsu, and he was encased in a sphere of water. Run! Kushina, take the genin and run! Kakashi shouted. No way, sensei, you always taught us to never abandon our comrades. I'm not gonna leave you. Naruto shouted back at him. He then drew his sword as Zabuza created a Mizubushin. Interesting blade you have there, Gaki. The only other blade I've heard of that wasn't silver, was the blood-red Chikuto that woman carries. He said, nodding to Kushina. However, you are not even a match for my clone. Your chakra levels are even lower than Pinky's, which from what I can sense, is just flat-out pathetic. Konoha's standard has severely dropped since the last war. Actually I have some of the largest reserves in the village. But I guess I can't beat you without going full out. Kai. Instantly Naruto's resistance seal dropped to 0, while the chakra limiter seals that he had put on just a few days before they left the village, deactivated. His chakra surged from his body, kicking up small pebbles, and rustling the leaves in the trees. If one were to look closely enough they would see a fox in his chakra. Naruto took a few deep breaths and calmed his chakra down, and got ready to fight. Kushina and Zabuza were surprised that he could have so much chakra that it literally could be seen tearing up the landscape. Kakashi was also surprised, but because of his current situation couldn't show it, or he would lose more oxygen. Sakura was trembling. She had never seen or felt so much chakra before. He's just Ella, like Mother S said. He's a monster, Sakura thought as she backed away from him. Sasuke however had different thoughts. That is it. He will give me his power. The only one capable of handling such power correctly is me, an Uchiha elite. When I get my Sharingan I will steal it all from him. Then I will be strong enough to kill him. Ah, that's much better. Let's go. Naruto shot off toward the clone at speeds that only the Jounin could follow. The others could only see a blur, and just barely. The clone raised his blade up to defend himself from an upward slash, and a clang of metal on metal was heard. Naruto and Zabuza were struggling against each other for only a few seconds when Naruto detached from him and ducked down, swing his sword at Zabuza's feet, cutting them off and causing the clone to turn into a puddle. Naruto stood up straight and glanced out of the corner of his eye at Zabuza, channeling Miho's chakra into his eyes, causing them to turn blood red and turn into slits. When Zabuza saw this he may not have shown it on the outside, but, inside, he was freaked out. How is this Gaki so strong? He's only a genin, yet he moves with the speed of at least an ANBU. And now he had those freaky eyes. Was he trained for war? What is this kid? Were Zabuza's thoughts. Naruto then turned towards Zabuza and got into the only stance that was not a part of the Hiten Mitsurujiryu. He squatted his katana on his left side, and his right hovering mere centimeters off of the hilt. This was the only move he thought had a chance at defeating Zabuza, or at least letting his sensei out of that prison so that he could deal with him. When this had all begun, Kushina was about to jump in and fight Zabuza, when Naruto did. She was amazed at his skill with the sword, and his speed. She couldn't believe it. She had only seen those in ANBU move that fast. She was particularly interested in his sword. She made a mental note to ask him if she could see it later. When he had dispatched the clone and gotten into a squatting stance, she was perplexed as to what he was doing, but believed that, if he was anything like his father, he had a plan. Though that didn't stop her from putting her stuff down, and placing her hand on her Chikuto and get into a ready stance. Zabuza, Naruto's voice rang out over the clearing. Cold and ruthless. His ki slowly increasing and focused on Zabuza. Let my sensei go. Or else. His eyes never left the man he had just threatened. What's a little kid like you gonna do if I don't? You're just a genin. The lowest of the shinobi ranks. You may have been able to kill my clone, but it was only at 1/10 of my full strength. You don't stand a chance, he said while his bandages showed a wrinkling around his mouth, showing that he was smirking. I gave you a choice, Zabuza. Naruto then squatted even further so that his knees were at a near 90-degree angle. His katana was in its sheath, his head bowed and his right hand over his head grasping his sword. The next words that came out of his mouth were nothing but a light whisper, but everyone heard them. Itori ai, sure son. I don't own One Piece. Everyone's mouths dropped at what happened. Nobody saw Naruto move, but they did see him reappear on the other side of Zabuza, standing on the water, and sheathing his sword. When it clicked, Zabuza's chest immediately squirted blood and he grasped it in pain, letting Kakashi go in the process, while a lion's roar was heard all around. He stumbled out of the water over to a tree. He couldn't believe it. Some little kid had just managed to cut him. If he survived this, which at this point he doubted, this kid would be a great source of entertainment later on. He leaned against the tree, his vision blurring, as he saw Kakashi walking over to him with a kunai ready to give the final strike. This is the end for you, Zabuza. All of a sudden two Saban pierced Zabuza's neck and he fell over, face first. Then a person appeared next to him in a Mizu Shunshin. They wore brown pants that went to their calves, a long-sleeved shirt under a blue jacket that was tied at the waist. They had their hair up in a bun with their bangs framing the mask over their face. The mask had a red swirl and the symbol of Kiri on the forehead. Thank you for your assistance. I have been tracking this one for quite some time. The voice was so level and neutral that they couldn't tell if this person was male or female, except Naruto, who could smell the faint scent of vanilla perfume, the same kind Tenten used sometimes when they went on dates, and knew that this was a woman. He could also smell Zabuza all over her. You're welcome, Hunter-san. You can go ahead and destroy the body now, Naruto said as he made his way over to them with a grin on his face, proud of his achievement. Though it couldn't be seen from behind her mask, the hunter was sweating. This wasn't going to plan. She moved as fast as she could, grabbing both Zabuza and his sword, and shined away. Damn it, got away? Naruto cursed as he sheathed his katana. Alright, Tazuna, let's get to your place. We need to, but was cut off when he heard a thump from behind and turned to see Kakashi passed out face down. Sigh, since sensei is out, but was again interrupted. Since sensei is too weak, and I am a natural leader like all Uchiha, I am the leader of this mission. Someone carry the weakling, and let's go. Sasuke. You are not in charge here. If anyone is, my mother is in charge of this mission now, as she is the Jounin, and since I am the strongest on this team, I am in charge of Team 7. Naruto said. No, you're no Yubaka. Sasuke-kun is the strongest here. He's an Uchiha, the best. The howler monkey had struck again. My son is correct. He is the leader of your team and I am in charge of this mission. You two carry Kakashi. She pointed to the emo and his fan. Naruto, you mentioned earlier that you know Kaigebushin. Make some and send them ahead to scout any other possible threats. Kushina ordered. Naruto instantly made 5 clones and sent them to do their job. Why should I listen to you? I'm an Uchiha. We are the greatest. You are just some insignificant whore. Sasuke growled at Kushina. Why, you little brat? Do you realize who you are speaking to? I am Uzumaki Kushina, the Red Death and Bloody Queen, the only person to stand against the Yondaime and win, clan head of the Uzumaki, and princess of Whirlpool. So shut up and follow orders. You will be written up for insubordination when we get home. She ranted to him. So what, I'm still an Uchiha, that makes me your better. In fact, as an Uchiha I demand that you give me any jutsu you know and the Dobe's sword. Only an Uchiha like myself can wield such powerful weapons and jutsu. Sasuke demanded while smirking. He didn't see Naruto come up behind him and chop his neck, sending him into darkness. Hey, you can't do that to Sasuke-kun. My mother. She was then knocked out by Kushina before she could go any further. Geez, she's just like her mother. A brainless, loud whore. Naruto, can you make a few more clones to carry the 3 of them so we can get going? She ordered / asked. Naruto followed orders and made 4 clones. 2 to carry Kakashi and 1 each to drag the other 2. Kushina then motioned for Tazuna to lead the way to his home. 30 minutes later, Naruto, Kushina, and Tazuna had just arrived at Tazuna's home while the clones carried Kakashi and dragged the others, who had dirt, twigs, leaves, and other debris in their hair and on their bodies. Tazuna went up to the door and walked right in while the others followed. Tsunami, I'm home. Tazuna called throughout the house. There was a rustle of shuffling feet and a woman with blue hair, a pink shirt, blue skirt, and a white apron appeared from around the corner. Tu-san. You're safe, thank goodness. She said as she crossed the room and hugged him. Thanks to these super shinobi I hired. Excuse me, Tsunami-san? Do you have somewhere I can put these 3? Naruto said, motioning to his unconscious team. Oh yes. You can put the girl in the first room on the left, and the boys in the one on the right. Dinner will be ready in a few minutes. You are welcome to join us, Tsunami replied, pointing to the staircase. Thank you. His clones took the 3 upstairs. And thank you for the offer, but I have come prepared. In all honesty, if I were to eat there wouldn't be enough for everyone else. Besides, I doubt you plan to have us over so soon. At that very moment one of the clones from earlier entered the house and tossed the scroll to Naruto, and then dismissed itself. What you got there, Naruto-chan? His mother asked, speaking up for the first time. Ka-san, I'm not little and I'm not a girl. So please don't call me that, Naruto pouted. But if you really want to know, it's my dinner, a bore. That night Naruto ate his meat while sharing what he knew he wouldn't eat with the others. Sasuke and Sakura were both up by now. The flat-chested bitch moaned and complained for almost an hour, even while they were eating, that her hair was a mess and she was all dirty. She didn't eat much, and when Tsunami asked, the girl replied that she was on a diet. Kushina had mentally sighed at this and wondered just how stupid this girl was, to be on a diet while being a kunoichi. Sasuke just brooded while he ate, and when he was done went upstairs to sleep, not even asking to be excused, while Sakura followed like the lost little puppy she is. It was at this time that Naruto brought up Zabuza. Alright Tazuna, we have some bad news for you. Zabuza is most likely alive. The 2 civilians dropped their chopsticks and went wide-eyed at this information. What? But how? We all saw him, he was dead. Tazuna said. That hunter that took him away had Zabuza's scent all over her. So it is safe to assume that they are working together, and that he is still alive. Though with his wounds I would say he'll be out for about 2 weeks. And that's if he has an average medic taking care of him. If he has an exceptional one he may be up in a week. That's a problem. We'll have to start training in the morning, so get some sleep, Naruto. A voice from behind said in a lazy tone. They turned around to see Kakashi struggling to stand at the bottom of the stairs. Kakashi, what are you doing out of bed? Kushina asked in a sickly sweet tone. I got hungry and I smelled the food from upstairs, he said while nervously scratching the back of his head, and I smiled. Later, after Kushina scolded Kakashi more, and he had eaten, everyone went to bed. In a hideout a few miles away, Haku had just finished bandaging Zabuza up, and was giving him a sedative to help him sleep. That kid, he's good. I'll give him that. But he needs more experience fighting other swordsmen, Zabuza said with haggard breath. Yes, he is quite good. If he had been even an inch in either direction with that last attack you would have died instantly, Haku said as she sat down in a chair near the door. But you should rest for now, it'll be a few days before you can get up. The next day at Tazuna's, everyone had gotten up early and had a silent breakfast. The only sounds being made were the cutting of food and the sounds of drinking. Kakashi had gotten down the stairs on his new crutches that Kushina had made for him earlier that morning. Sasuke was, as usual, glaring off into space, and Sakura was staring at him with stars in her eyes. Naruto was finishing the boar from the night before. All right team, Kakashi said, getting his students' attention. We're going to go train. Kushina, you can join us if you want, he said, getting up and slowly made his way out the door, being followed by his students and his dead sensei's wife. After about 15 minutes of walking/hobbling they came across a clearing. Alright, this is where your training will take place. Today you learn to climb trees, Kakashi said. Kakashi, are you really just teaching them this? This is supposed to be learned in the first month after graduation. They should be on water walking already, Kushina yelled at him. Yes it is, but in order for it to be taught they must show they can work as a cohesive unit. So far they haven't, but with Zabuza here I have to teach them. Pfft, how can climbing trees help us train? I demand that you teach me a jutsu, Sasuke said. Sakura was about to voice her opinion on the matter but was cut off by Naruto. Because you dumbass, the tree climbing exercise helps you learn to control your chakra better as well as increase your reserves so you can use higher ranked jutsu. For a so-called genius you sure are stupid. Don't you dare talk down to me like that. I am your superior in every way. Yes, Sasuke-kun is better than you. You're just a clanless idiot with no worth as a shinobi. You should just die and stay out of Sasuke-kun's way. The screeching banshee struck again. I'm worthless as a shinobi? Then tell me, how is it I was able to take on an A-rank Nukenin with just a sword? How is it that I know more jutsu than both you and Team No Stick Flipper, calling him gay, combined? How is it that I have more chakra than anyone in this field? If you ask me, that makes me the one with the most potential of the three of us. If anyone here is a worthless shinobi here, it's you. You have no jutsu but the 3 taught in the academy. Your overall physical fitness is the worst the academy has ever seen. Your chakra reserves are barely above what they were when you entered the academy. Your taijutsu is abysmal. The only thing you are good at is chakra control because of your pathetic reserves, and memorizing useless information that has no value on the battlefield whatsoever. In my opinion, the only reason you haven't been dropped from the program is because your mother is on the council, and the shinobi population hate having to deal with them, even on small matters such as this. So why don't you grow up, you whore? Naruto ranted to her. By the end, Sakura was in tears, and everyone else, save Sasuke, who was wondering when this training would start, were mentally hoping this would snap her out of La La Land and get her to train. Yeah, right. Naruto then turned to the nearest tree and walked all the way to the top and back down. Very good, Naruto. You can start on water walking, Kakashi said. I already know all the control exercises up to Jounin. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go train elsewhere. Naruto then walked out of the clearing. I'm gonna follow him. I've gotta start his clan training. Kushina then took off after him. A few minutes later, Kushina found Naruto performing his taijutsu katas and stood there watching for a few minutes and was impressed. Naruto, she said, gaining his attention. It's time that I tell you about your heritage. Come over here and take a seat. He dumbly nodded, his head blown away by the fact that he was going to learn about his family history, and sat down in front of his mother. Alright, the Uzumaki clan has been around since the time of the clan wars and for the most part were neutral to everyone, and hardly directly involved themselves in battle for one side. We're mainly known for our abilities as sealers and weaponry. Until the Third War we never really allied ourselves with any major village, preferring to stay neutral. That all changed when it became known that we were directly involved in the creation of Konoha. What do you mean our clan was involved in creating Konoha? I guess I should explain that. Well, my great-great-grandmother married the Shodai, as well as our clan symbol, the red swirl you see on all of the Chunin and Jounin vests, was used as a way to have closer ties with the village and promote friendship. The leaf symbol on your Hittite, if you took away the arrow and the tail, you have our symbol. Wow, that is so awesome. I'm related to the Yondaime, Shodaime, and Nidaime. I always knew I was awesome, but this just makes it so much awesomer, he said with a fox-like grin. Yes, you are awesome. Well, back to the story. So when IWA found out about it, I was only 10 years old. They completely destroyed the village. The only reason I survived was because I was in Konoha at the time visiting Aunt Tsunade, one of the Sannin. They were able to scrounge up some weapons and clan scrolls, but I was the only one alive. Then I met your father. At first I hated him because he was always acting so chivalrous, and I hated it when people treated me different because I was a girl. But that all changed when he saved me from a kidnapping by Kumo. That's when I fell in love with him. 3 years later he was named Yandame, and a year after that I had you. And the kicker, guess who your father's parents are? She said with a shit-eating grin. I don't know. It said in the history books he was the child of civilians that died when he was young. Nope, that's just the official story. Truth is he didn't even know until he read the Hokage's secret files. Turns out his parents are Tsunade and Jiraiya of the Sannin. You are literally the heir of 3 different clans, Senju, Uzumaki, and Namikaze. You are also literal royalty, as I was once 3rd in line to take the throne in Whirlpool. That is so awesome. I can't wait to tell Tenten. She's gonna flip when she finds out. Naruto said excitedly. Naruto, you should be careful about who you tell this information to. There was a reason why you weren't told this when you were small. Our family has made enemies in so many of the villages, that if you blabbed about it carelessly, Konoha may not survive the aftermath. Naruto looked down at this but nodded his agreement at understanding. Now because you are the last male of 3 clans you will most likely have the CRA placed upon you. Your father only managed to slip past it because he was the Hokage. You on the other hand, well, you may not get a choice. Naruto looked kind of disappointed at this. He didn't feel that he needed anyone other than Tenten. And when he voiced this his mother said that again. He may not have a choice in the matter as nobles and foreign diplomats will line up at Konoha's gates demanding their daughter be married to him. Well, I want to get Tenten's opinions on this first before I feel okay with it. You wouldn't happen to have a summon, would you? He asked his mom. Yup, sure do. Clan summons. We have the Phoenix contract. Only Uzumakis can sign it. She ran through a few hand seals and with that shout of Kukyo's no jutsu, and a puff of smoke, a phoenix about 2 feet tall with bright blue flames appeared. Hello Kushina, it's been a while. Who's the kid? The bird asked. This is my son Naruto. He has a message for you to deliver to Konoha. He wants to send a message to his girlfriend. Naruto, this is Enchi, the fastest messaging phoenix. The woman explained. Nice to meet you, Enchi. If you can just give me a minute to write it out, can you take it to her? Her name is Tenten. She looks like this. Henge. Naruto briefly turned into his girlfriend so Enchi knew who to look for, and at his nod dispelled it. He took out a scroll and a brush and began writing. Tenten, hey, it's Naruto. Well, my mission is going really good, and it's really fun. But this isn't reason I'm writing. The bird's name is Enchi. I have come to a realization that once my heritage is discovered by the council they will want to force me into the Clan Restoration Act, meaning they are going to force me to marry a few other women. I don't think I'll be able to worm my way out of it either, but I still want you to know that I love you and nothing will change that. I would just feel better if you were okay with this as well. Please send a reply as fast as you can. Love, Naruto. Chapter 6. Response and Training. Kushina watched as the flames began to die down, revealing her son with only minimal burning to his clothes, indicating that he had passed the test. She was overjoyed at this and was immediately planning his congratulatory celebration the only way Uzumakis knew, lots of ramen and sake. Of course she would get the weak stuff for Naruto so he doesn't get pissed drunk and do something stupid, and wait till they were back in Konoha. Wow, that was weird. But it felt ticklish. Naruto said, looking at Rosanna. Yes, it does. You will be passing out here soon though. I'm sure you remember Kushina. With that I grant you permission to summon the Phoenix clan as long as your intentions are just. Goodbye Naruto, Kushina. And with that the giant bird poofed from existence. Naruto had a questioning look on his face, and when his mother saw it she decided to explain. What she meant when she said you would pass out was when you are engulfed in her fire your adrenal gland forces insurmountable amounts of adrenaline into your system. That's how you survive. If you hadn't done that you would be a pile of ash. So when the rush wears off your body will be completely exhausted. Usually you would be out for almost a week, but with Miho healing you'll probably be up in 2 to 3 days. Yeah, okay mom. I can't W, and with that Naruto fell back, out like a light. Kushina just softly smiled at him as he reminded her so much of his father. She would also have to wait to see his sword, but she was okay with that. So with a sigh, she walked over to him and picked him up, and took him back to Tsuna's, with the setting sun behind her. Meanwhile, in Konoha, Tenten had just finished reading Naruto's letter to her, and was both happy and upset at what was written. She was happy that he was having a good time on his first C-rank mission, but she was upset that the council will force him to marry other women. She hadn't really thought that far ahead in their relationship, but like every woman, when she read that he still loved her and wanted her to be okay with this she immediately started daydreaming about miniature Narutos with sharp pointy objects running around a field. But when she realized what she was doing she shook those thoughts from her head with a slight blush on her cheeks. I know that I love Naruto, but I'm not sure that I could share him with anyone. He knows I'm slightly possessive about things. But then again I want him to be happy. I don't know what to do. I can't go to Gai-sensei for advice, he just shout on and on about having more than one wife is unyouthful. Shinji would just make perverted jokes or something like that. I really need some help. She sat there thinking of people she could ask for help, and after a few minutes remembered that Naruto always goes to Hokage-sama for advice. Well, he's my best option right now. I just hope he isn't too busy. And with that she left the training ground she was practicing at, Enchi following her, and made her way to the Hokage tower. When she got there she asked the secretary if he was busy, to which she stated that he was taking a short break from his work and allowed her to go in. Tenten thanked her and went up the stairs to the Hokage's office and knocked. A few seconds later she hears a voice say enter. And she walked in. Ah, hello Tenten. How may I help you? The aged Hokage asked, as he took a small puff from his pipe. Well, there is something. Naruto has told me there are a couple of ANBU in here, so could you ask them to leave and then set up a privacy jutsu? I want to keep this private, she asked nervously, but her eyes never left the old man, who just waved his hand and two ANBU appeared in the doorway, bowing, and then left. Sarutobi then walked over to the wall and pulled off a picture of the Shodan where a privacy seal was placed so that sensitive information could be talked about by leaders and military officials as well as S-class mission briefings, and activated it. He then walked back to his chair and motioned for Tenten to sit. She did, but was clearly nervous about what she was going to talk about. And after a few minutes she said, quite possibly, the dumbest thing that could be said at the moment. I know that Naruto is the son of Yondaime-sama. The Hokage narrowed his eyes at her as she sank into her chair. And just what makes you think that? Yondaime-sama never married nor did he have any children. The aged man said with an edge in his voice. Well, aside from the fact that he looks just like him, Naruto-kun told me just before he left. Are you sure about that? Not even I know who his parents are, how would he? Well, I asked the same thing, but he wouldn't tell me his mother's name, only that hospital security sucks. As for his father, well, I asked him why he looked so much like a miniature version of Yondaime-sama, and he told me. Really? When Naruto told me of his suspicions he said he wasn't 100% sure. Well, he said Miho told him. And who is Miho? Sarutobi asked, feeling as though he would dread the answer. Well, I guess since Naruto-kun trusts you a lot, I could tell you. Miho is better known as Kyubi no Kitsune. What? He's been talking to it. Better question though, how do you know, Naruto? And yet he talks to her. According to him, since that beating he had when he was in the hospital for a week when he was 6, I'm going to have to put another seal on him to make sure it doesn't corrupt him. He didn't finish though, as the girl in front of him started yelling at him. Don't you dare do that to him. Miho is the closest thing he has to a mother. She raised him as her own. She taught him to read and write, how to avoid the beatings. If you take her away from him he'll be crushed. Please don't do it, she said with tears threatening to fall from her eyes. Naruto had told her many times how much Miho meant to him, that he wouldn't know what to do if she was suddenly gone. Sarutobi just sighed at this. He knew that if he did this Naruto would probably hate him, but he couldn't put the village in danger. But he had also never heard of a demon taking in a human and raising it as their own. Plus Naruto seemed alright, and he didn't want to lose him. He sighed again and made his decision. Alright, I won't seal it. But I will be talking with him when he gets back. Remember though, the Kyubi and Naruto's heritage are some of this village's most guarded secrets. Now if you're done you can leave. Well, no, I'm not done. You see, Naruto sent me a letter. He said that when the council found out they would force him into the CRA. And you're worried that you won't be able to be with him anymore? No, I'm not. I just don't know what to do. If the CRA is enacted on him, that means he's going to have more than one wife he will have to love. I admit that I am possessive, and Naruto knows that. I just don't know if I could stand it if he were to sleep with them. I love him and I want what makes him happy. I just don't know what to do, she said looking at her lap. Well, I know Naruto pretty well. And if there is one thing I know about him is that he doesn't really care about his own happiness much, but those that are closest to him. He would want you to be happy, and even if it would crush him, he would act like he doesn't care if you were to break up with him as long as you were happy. Though if you did accept it, and were to become one of his wives, I'm sure it would mean a lot to him, just to see that you were okay and happy with this. Now it is getting late, and I have to be home in 20 minutes before my grandson has time to put another trap in place. I hope that helped you, Tenten, he said as he got up from his chair and walked over to the door, Tenten following him, and opened the door, dispelling the privacy seal. Yeah, I think it did. I'm gonna go home and think about it though. Thank you, Hokage-sama. And with that she walked home under the new moon. For the next 2 days she skipped training in order to put this in order. What the Hokage had said really hit her. She couldn't believe that her happiness was more important than Naruto's own. She knew he was happy when she was with him, and that she was happy when she was with him. The dream of mini Narutos had assaulted her dreams the last 2 nights as well. She sat in her apartment the whole day, not even answering when Lee came to see if she was alright. And around sunset she had made her decision, and wrote him back in Wave, to Zuna's place. It had been 2 days since Naruto had passed out. Kushina had been helping Tsunami with the cooking and cleaning. Tsunami and Tazuna had been worried about Naruto, but were reassured by Kushina that he would be alright. Kakashi, although he didn't show it, was growing increasingly irritated at his students. Sakura had gotten the tree climbing exercise very fast, which didn't surprise him because of her low chakra reserves. But when he told her to go find another tree to keep working on it, she refused, saying she was too tired and just sat and watched the Uchiha with rapt attention. This was getting really old really fast. He then ordered her to do it, or he would make it a rule that she had to wear Naruto's old orange jumpsuits. She quickly got back to doing the exercise but collapsed from exhaustion not 10 minutes later. He just sighed and shook his head. But his real problem was Sasuke. He had only gotten 15 feet off the ground and was becoming frustrated with every following try. When Kakashi had tried to give him advice, he answered, "I'm an Uchiha. I don't need your help to do such a simple task," and turned around to try again. When he got to the point where he was so frustrated and angry that he couldn't go more than 5 to 6 feet, he turned around and ordered Kakashi to teach him a jutsu. Kakashi just told him he was going to take Sakura home, and that he should come too, that dinner was going to be soon, and that is where we currently are. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and took in his surroundings. It wasn't his room, and he started to panic, until he heard Tsunami yell up the stairs that it was time for dinner, and the subsequent footsteps that followed. He looked around the room for his clothes and found them, good as new, laying in a chair in the corner with his katana leaning up against it. He crawled out of his futon and slowly got dressed, as his muscles were sore from not moving for a few days. Just as he put on his pants, he heard a tapping sound from his left. He looked over to see Enchi hovering outside the window. He walked over and opened it, letting the bird inside. "Here you are, Naruto." She took a while, but she finally gave me a response. "And I must say, for human standards, she is beautiful," the bird said as he gave the message to Naruto. "Thanks, Enchi. And I know she's beautiful. You can go now, be safe." And with that, Enchi poofed away and Naruto sat on his futon and opened the letter. "Naruto, it's great that you're having fun on your mission. And I hope you're doing okay. I want to say that I am not thrilled about having the possibility of sharing you with other women, and I didn't know what to do at first. I got some advice from Hokage-sama, and it really helped in my decision. I mind that I may have to share you, but I love you too much to leave you. Though that doesn't mean I want you to be with a bunch of sluts wanting to be with you because of your name. I have decided to stay with you, but I have a couple of conditions. 1. I get final say in who gets to join. There is no exception to this. 2. I am going to marry you first. 3. We have a pack structure in our relationship, like the Inuzuka. You the alpha male and me the alpha female. I miss you and I can't wait to see you when you come home. Love, Tenten. P.S. Can't wait to see what that surprise is." Naruto had a feeling of relief wash over him when he read that Tenten was okay with this. But sweat dropped at the conditions she set out, especially the third one. He knew she was possessive but hadn't thought she would do something like this. He smiled and walked out the door, grabbing his katana along the way. When he entered the dining room, everyone was calmly eating. The only two talking were his mother and Tsunami. He cleared his throat, signaling he was there. "Hey Naruto, are you feeling alright?" Kakashi asked. "Yeah, I'm just a little sore. Can I get some food please? I'm really hungry." And as if to reinforce that statement, his stomach growled really loud, causing Kushina and Tazuna, who was slightly drunk, to fall back in laughter. "Of course you can, Naruto-san," Tsunami said as she went to the kitchen and returned a minute later with some rice and 2 small grilled fish. "I hope you like it," she said with a warm smile on her face. "Thank you, Tsunami-san." He then took a bite of the fish. "This is really good. Thank you again for the food." Tsunami just blushed at the compliment. Luckily for her, no one noticed it. Dinner was going as expected. Tsunami and Kushina the only ones still talking, though Naruto would comment every now and then, as well as Tazuna in a drunken stupor, until the little boy Naruto had failed to notice earlier spoke up. "Why? Why do you try so hard? You're just going to die," Inari said. "Whatever, kid, I'm not like you. I will not die until I fulfill my dreams," Naruto said, looking at the gloomy kid. "What the hell do you know about me? You people know nothing of this country. I'm different from you. You're always so happy, and goofing off. I bet you live a happy life in your village. You don't know what it's like to live a hard life." Suddenly the room exploded with Ki, and when it was traced it was coming from Naruto. "Don't be such a baby. You think your life is hard? I had over 200 assassination attempts on my life before I was even a week old. Until I was 7 I wasn't able to run very fast, and was always caught and beat within an inch of my life. I can't walk down the streets of my own village without people glaring at me. I was kicked out of the orphanage at age 3 and lived on the streets until I was 5. If you learn anything from this kid, learn this. You may have a bad life, but there is always someone who has it worse. Kakashi-sensei, I'm going out to train. Ka-san, I'll be back, and when I am ready to leave I have something that I want to do, and I'll need your help." With that, Naruto just left. The other people just sat there. Tazuna, Tsunami and Kushina were in tears, while Inari was stunned into silence. Sasuke and Sakura could care less and continued to eat. Did that really happen?" Tsunami asked through her tears. "Yes, though that was a very edited version. I had to save him from most of it. I'm just glad he turned out the way he did," Kakashi said. Next morning, with Naruto. The next morning, as the sun was rising, a figure could be seen approaching the same clearing as Naruto. The figure was dressed in a pink kimono that had flower prints on it. She had black hair that went down to her lower back. She also had a small basket with several plants in it. She then entered a clearing and saw the amount of destruction. She looked around to see how much damage was done, and immediately saw a person sleeping, and upon taking a closer look recognized who it was. It's that boy that almost killed Zabuza-sama. I will have to take him out here, she thought as she walked over to him and reached out to choke him, when the boy's hand shot out and grabbed hers. It's not polite to sneak up on people, you know, Naruto said as he released her hand and sat up. He opened his eyes and looked at who had woken him. I'm sorry, I was just trying to wake you. It's not healthy to sleep outside, the person said. That's nice of you. I'm Naruto, by the way, Uzumaki Naruto. Haku. Is there a reason you were sleeping out here? Yeah, I was training. You're out here early too, you know. Yes, I find it soothing to find herbs in the early morning. So why are you training? I believe in the saying you can always become stronger. Do you have precious people that you want to protect? Yeah. I don't have many, but I want to protect them. Even if I die. Why did you ask? Because I believe that when a person wants to protect someone, they can find the strength to do so, and become truly strong. It was nice talking to you, but I must be going. Haku got up and began to leave when Naruto spoke up. And did you think I would let Zabuza's female apprentice go that easily? Haku stopped dead in her tracks. She was now regretting not bringing a weapon. How? How did you know? And I'm a boy. Well, I beg to differ with you on that, but I knew because you have the same voice and the scent of Zabuza all over you. And I know you're a girl for 3 reasons. First, you have the faint scent of vanilla perfume on. Second, when you were kneeling over me I could see your bindings. And third, I can see the outline of your panties. Haku immediately covered her ass with her hands to prevent him from seeing them more that he already has. Then I guess that I am your prisoner. That you're going to ravish my body until… Nope. Not gonna do that. I have too much respect for women to do that. Plus I have someone back home. Thank you? Now I really must. She was again cut off. It must be hard. Always on the run from Hunter Nin. Why don't you come back to Konoha with us? I have a bit of pull with the Hokage, and I'm sure he'd love to have a couple more strong shinobi in his forces. I would have to ask Zabuza-sama. Well, that's fine and all, but I gotta ask. Do you really expect Gata to pay you as he says? From where I'm standing he seems very greedy. Think about that. Goodbye, Haku-chan. With that, Naruto shined away. Haku stood there for a few more minutes in shock before she slowly made her way to the hideout to inform Zabuza of this. Naruto walked up to Tezuna's and quietly made his way in, as it was still pretty early. He was surprised, however, when he saw his mom and Tsunami in the kitchen cooking. Kushina heard him and turned around. Naru-chan, where were you? I was really worried, she said as she hugged him while she cried on his shoulder, even if she had to bend over a little. He may have been tall for his age at 5 feet 3 inches, but she was still 5 feet 5 inches. A/N. Tenten is 5 feet 2 inches. Gomenasai, Mom. I passed out last night. Are you ready to go? It will take a while to get to where we're going, he said as he gently pushed her off of himself so that she was standing straight up. Hi, I was just making a few sandwiches. Should we get hungry? I'll be done in a few minutes. With that, she kissed him on the forehead and went back to making the food. 10 minutes later they were heading out the door saying goodbye to Tsunami. They had been walking for almost 20 minutes before Kushina spoke up. So Naruto, where are we going? And why do you need my help? She was really curious. Well, first, when you asked me to send some Kagebushin to scout ahead after I fought Zabuza, I had one of them go to a blacksmith in a port town near Lightning Country to make me 2 katana. I want to get there today so that I can add my chakra to them so I can channel my primary elemental affinity through the 2 blades. It's been on my mind for a while and I finally got enough money to have them made. Unfortunately, the blacksmith I used to make Kurwa Ryujin died a couple months ago, so I couldn't have him do it, and all the other blacksmiths I tried to hire wouldn't do it because of who I am. I just lucked out. But I need your help because I intend to buy a couple wooden katana to practice with. And I'll need an opponent. Naruto explained. Wow. So you're gonna have 3 blades? Actually, the only person I've heard of that uses 2 swords were the wielders of the bolt sword Fang of the 7 shinobi swordsmen. But I think it's interesting that you want to try this. I'll help you as much as I can. A/N. If you didn't know, that's the sword Raiga uses. Thanks, Mom. Let's go. And with that they both disappeared in bursts of speed. It was several hours later, around 1 o'clock, when they reached the town. Both were slightly panting but quickly got over it and walked into the town. Some people turned their heads as they saw the 2 shinobi walking down the street, as many had never seen one before, especially the children. It only took a few minutes before they found the blacksmith's store. A hero. I've come to pick up my swords. Are they ready? Naruto called as he entered. I've got the last stage to do just like you asked. We can begin as soon as you're ready, said a big burly man. He had only a pair of pants on. His upper body was covered in burns from his job. He had black hair that was singed at some parts. Well, is now good? And do you have those wooden katana too? Naruto asked. Yup, they will be here in the morning. Who's the redhead? He asked, finally noticing Kushina. That's my mom. She's the reason I asked for 4 wooden katana. She's going to help me. Well, it was nice meeting you, ma'am. Come on, Naruto, your swords are in the back. We can get started right away. With that, Hiro moved a curtain aside and stepped through with Naruto and Kushina following. They entered a large open room that had 2 forges and several tables. There were also many weapons lining the walls. Hiro walked over to a bundle that was sitting on a table near the forge on the right side of the room and picked it up. These are yours. Go ahead and channel your chakra through it, Hiro said, handing them to Naruto, who immediately grabbed it and unrolled it, revealing his katana. There wasn't anything special about them, as right now they were just hunks of sharpened metal. He would have to wait until Hiro was finished with the forging to get a tsuba and pommel for them. He had already picked them out already. They were going to be white with crimson diamonds and the guards would be dragons. He picked up the katanas and slowly began adding futon chakra to them. Wind started to pick up around them as they were getting used to being able to have chakra push through them. It took almost an hour to finish. Naruto then gave them to Hiro. Alright, Hiro. I'll be back tomorrow morning to pick them up. Come on, Mom, let's go get something to eat. And with that, Naruto left, and Hiro closed the shop so he could focus on his job. He was being paid a lot of money for these blades and he didn't want to mess them up because some jackass ran into his shop. The next morning around 10, Naruto and Kushina walked into the shop to see Hiro coming out from the back. Hiro. How'd it go? Are they ready to be used? Naruto asked, getting excited about using his new blades. Yeah, I just need you to give me the pommels and tsubas so I can put them on. The blacksmith replied. Oh, and do you have an extra sheath? I have another katana and I kinda want to strap it to my back, Naruto said, pointing to his katana that was sheathed on his waist. That looks like a knife with a sword handle. Are you sure that's a katana? Hiro asked skeptically. Naruto then drew it from its sheath, surprising the blacksmith. Wow, that's the first time I've seen something like that. If you're getting a new sheath for it, can I buy it from you? Sure. I can make more of them later if I want. It'll cost 10% of what you're charging me to make those swords, Naruto said after a few minutes of thinking, causing Kushina to wonder how much these swords were costing. Alright. 10% off the original price brings your total to 4,763 real. Kushina was shocked that all this was costing him so little. She remembered the prices of katana in the major villages being almost twice that, for just one. Alright, well, here are the tsubas and pommels, Naruto said as he pulled out a scroll, bit his thumb, and wiped the blood on the scroll, causing a small puff of smoke and the items to come out. He then handed them to Hiro, who nodded and looked at them. These are good. Where did you get them? I may have to get mine from here, Hiro said, admiring the quality of the pommels and tsubas. He was floored at Naruto's next statement, however. I have a lot of spare time. I made them myself. Except for the tsuba, I found those. It took me a while to find 2 dragons, almost 4 months. Would you mind making pommels for me then? I'll pay you 5% of every sword that your pommels are put on. So what do you say? Well, as much as I would like the money, Hiro, I won't have as much time as I used to in a few months. Naruto saw Hiro's face fall at that, so he decided to compromise. But I'll tell you what, I'll make them if you ever get a special order, and you make it 7%. Is that a deal? You got it, kid. I'll have these ready in an hour. See you then, Hiro said as he walked behind the curtain again. Okay, so want to get lunch? I chose yesterday, Mom, so you choose today, Naruto said as they walked out. An hour later, Naruto and Kushina were walking into the shop arguing. No, Mom. I will not eat squid again. It's too freaking slimy. I don't see how you can eat that stuff, Naruto said, drinking water to get rid of the taste. But your dad liked it. Well, he said he did. She pouted. Hey, Naruto, I got your katana and the wooden katana ready, Hiro said from behind a counter. Naruto just pulled out another scroll and again bit his thumb and wiped his blood on a seal, and with a poof of smoke 2 sacks of money appeared. Naruto then handed it to Hiro, who in turn gave Naruto his katana and new sheath. Naruto then took out Kurwa Ryujin and gave the sheath to Hiro, and resheathed his sword in his new sheath. He then unsheathed his 2 new katana and inspected them closely. After a few minutes he nodded his head, accepting them. He then took the new katana and strapped them to his back in an X formation and retied Kurwa Ryujin to his left hip. So you got a name for those 2? Hiro asked, pointing to the katana on Naruto's back. Yup. They are Kida no Futegofu Ryu, the twin wind dragons of the north, Naruto said proudly. Oh, I like that, Souchi. Thank you, Hiro-san, Kushina said. Yeah, that's a good name, kid. Here are your wooden katana, Hiro said, handing them to Naruto. Thanks, Hiro. I'll remember to send you all of my orders from now on. I gotta go. Ja. With that, Naruto quickly left the store with his mom right behind him. They left the town, and as they neared the woods they disappeared in a burst of speed. A couple hours later, about halfway between the town they were just in and Wave, Naruto stopped in a fairly large clearing. Alright, Mom, this is where we are going to stay for the next 7 or 8 days to train, Naruto said, putting his bag on the ground. Do you think that's enough time to learn how to use these swords? Kushina asked. She would admit that her son was good, but could he pull this off? Well, I'll be using an experimental training method. I've used it before but never on this scale. Kagebushin no Jutsu. Suddenly there were almost 300 Narutos with wooden katana standing in the field. Alright, you know what to do. With that, the clones set to work on getting used to using 2 katana at the same time. For the next 3 days Naruto and Kushina practiced with the wooden katana, and every day Naruto got better. With all the clones practicing and sparring with each other, he was progressing at dangerous speeds. He had already gotten used to the feeling of using 2 at once and had moved on to the real ones. At first he just practiced swinging them to get used to the weight, and it hadn't taken him more than a few hours to do so. Then he began experimenting with his futon chakra and sending it through the blades when he swung them. By the time he had finished experimenting, the clearing had doubled, almost tripled in size because of all the trees Naruto practiced on. He had even stumbled on a new technique he could use, by complete accident too. When he was experimenting, he was trying to think of ways to go faster while using his swords. At first he tried to just push himself forward using his chakra, that had ended with him face first in a tree. This wasn't very maneuverable. He got so angry with it that he let a burst of futon chakra burst from him. He didn't realize it at first, but when he did, he saw that when he had pushed all that chakra from him, he had sent it through his feet as well. Then the idea came to him. What if he pushed himself around with his futon chakra while at the same time used it to slightly hover above the ground? He took 2 days to learn it, even though his mother was getting worried about him and this absurd training method, and had begged him to take a rest. He listened to her at times, but most of the time he just responded that he had to get stronger, that he had to protect her and his sensei, and his friends back in Konoha. She had smiled at this, not that he knew, since he was paying attention to what he was doing, thinking that he was like his father in so many ways. It had actually brought a tear to her eye. So after he had gotten his new jutsu down, which he named Kaze-Jie Sakito or Wind Skates, he went back to practicing with his new katana, back with Kakashi and Team 7. Kakashi had been getting even more frustrated with his team. He had Sakura go and try water walking only to find her watching the Uchiha not 10 minutes later. He had officially given up on her, and would ask if she could be moved to a new team when they got back. He just hoped there was a spot open. Sasuke was an even bigger headache for Kakashi. He was almost to the top but still acted as though he was superior to Kakashi and demanded to be taught a jutsu at least 10 times a day if not more. He also complained how the dobe was getting special training while he, and Uchiha, wasn't. When Kakashi tried to explain that he was being trained in clan affairs, at least that's what he thought, Sasuke responded that the dobe shouldn't even be learning it as he was his better, and he should get the training, and that, if it proved useful, would become part of the Uchiha training. That's where Kakashi drew the line and told Sasuke he could just train himself from now on and left. He knew that he couldn't get him on another team because he was the only one that could teach Sasuke how to wield the Sharingan. On the 9th day, Naruto and Kushina had left Kakashi and Team 7 as well as Tazuna made their way to the bridge, as this was the day that Naruto had predicted that Zabuza would be able to fight. When they got there were bodies all over the bridge. Kakashi quickly checked them and reported that they were just knocked out. That's when someone jumped from below the bridge followed by another. It was Zabuza and the hunter Nin. Zabuza had scanned the people present, and noticed the blonde and Kushina weren't there. Kakashi, where's the blonde? Zabuza asked. Why do you want to know? Kakashi wondered why Zabuza would want to know about Naruto. He told my apprentice something and I want to make sure he's telling the truth. And what would that be? Kakashi narrowed his eyes. That he could get us into Konoha as shinobi. Meanwhile, with Naruto and Kushina, the mother and son had just gotten to Tazuna's when they heard screaming coming from a nearby dock, and rushed to see what was going on. When they got there they saw 2 swordsmen holding Tsunami by the hair and Inari begging them to let her go. Let my mom go. Why should we? Gata said we only needed 1 hostage. Let's just kill the Gaki and go. The guy with the hat on said. Yeah, I love hearing the sounds of children screaming for their life. The one with an eye patch said as he lifted his katana over his head and walked towards Inari. Stop. If you touch him I'll bite my tongue and choke on my blood. Tsunami shouted at the one going towards her son. He turned around and that was all that was needed for Naruto to pull out Kurwa Ryujin and dash at the eye patch one and cut his head off. The other one was too stunned to move for a few seconds, but when he did regain that ability Kushina appeared behind him and stabbed him through his heart. Hey Inari, Tsunami. How you doing? Naruto asked as he flicked the blood off of his katana and sheathed it. We're fine. Just a bruise or 2. Thank you for saving us. Tsunami said as she held a crying Inari. You're welcome, Tsunami. You 2 should probably get inside. We'll leave some clones to make sure you're alright. Kushina said, and she and Naruto both made 2 clones. She then nodded to her son, and they left for the bridge. The clones got them to the house and had them stay upstairs. When the 2 arrived at the bridge they found something quite interesting. Sasuke and Sakura were tied and gagged while the adults and the hunter Nin were playing poker. Of course the 2 looked at each other, and sweat dropped at this. They then made their way over to the poker game. Ha, 4 of a kind. Pay up, Kakashi. Zabuza said as he beat the highest hand, Kakashi's full house. Hey Kakashi. Everyone turned to see Naruto and Kushina standing there with questioning looks on their faces, and faster than anyone could see Zabuza collected his money and cards. What's with the team nose stick flipper and the monkey girl doing tied up? Naruto asked. Zabuza let out a small chuckle at the way his teammates were addressed. Well, Zabuza had called a temporary truce until you got here to discuss something and they had attacked, so for the peace of everyone here, and possibly their safety, I bound and gagged them. Kakashi explained, scratching the back of his head and I smiling. Alright Gaki. Zabuza said, gaining everyone's attention. Can you really get us into Konoha? Yeah. Haku could get in quite easily, as she's not in the bingo book. You on the other hand are a different matter. You are in the bingo book as an A-class threat, but I doubt Hokage-sama would pass up the opportunity to have another Kenjutsu master in the village. If I had to take a guess, you would probably be interrogated for a few days by the ANBU, and then a few months of probation. So unless you've killed a Fire Country official, that should be about it. Naruto explained. And you're sure about this? I don't want to be taking someone that I care for like a daughter to somewhere she will be hated. She's had enough of that with the bloodline purge in Kiri. Why you think of me your daughter? Haku said, removing her mask, revealing tears. Yeah. Don't get all emotional on me. Zabuza replied, looking in the other direction. So will you come? Kushina asked. On one condition. If I do get in, I want to fight you in a swordman's duel. He said, pointing to Kushina. I already know Bloody is good, but I want to see if the rumors are true. Even in your old age. Zabuza was then smacked hard by Kushina. I'm only 33, you jackass. She shouted at him. They were interrupted, however, as they heard clapping and turned to see Gato there with at least 100 bandits. What if Naruto outsmarts Konoha Council bashing Harem? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.